Man, oh man, where do I begin, you guys? Where do I begin? Growl, growl, prowl, prowl. Hello, my friends, I am the Lion of Truth. And today we are going to be doing a psychological analysis and a review of Resident Evil 8 Village. Now, if you haven't played the game, you probably shouldn't watch this. Maybe you could watch bits and pieces, but there will be spoilers here, and so I apologize in advance. There will be spoilers. So, I have a lot to say, and let's just get right into it. I want to give you a little bit of background before the review starts on my experience with Resident Evil and this game as well. So I played on the Village of Shadows difficulty, which is the hardest mode. There are 4 modes in the game, difficulty modes. There's casual, I believe, standard, hardcore, and then after you beat the game on any of them, you unlock the 4th and the hardest difficulty called the Village of Shadows. However, if you pre-ordered the game and got, I think it was I don't know if it was the deluxe edition or what, it was 10 extra bucks. You got some little trinkets. You unlock the Village of Shadows, the hardest difficulty, right away, as soon as you open the game. And that's exactly what they did in Resident Evil 7. By the way, this game was developed and published by Capcom. So they did it was called Madhouse in that one. I think they did easy, normal, I don't know if they called it hard in Resident Evil 7, but then the 4th mode was called Madhouse difficulty. And I love playing all of my games. I only play a few games per year, you guys, by the way. Just so you know. I only play AAA games. Games that I think are going to be on the Game of the Year tier list. If it's not a Game of the Year type of quality game, to me, I don't know why anybody would waste their time playing it. That's just my personal opinion, and that's how I live my life. I will only play, like I said, 3 games, maybe 5 per year. And I really dive deep into them. So as I was saying, I played this on the hardest difficulty, Village of Shadows, and I also play with no HUD and no aiming reticle. So what this means is, essentially, there's nothing on the screen. Like in video games, normally you have the aiming reticle right in the center of the screen where your gun is looking. It tells you where your bullets are going to go. So that was gone. I took that off. And the HUD is your health and the amount of ammo and grenades and your status, essentially. It shows up on the corners of the screen in most games. To me, I like to take these things off because it completely immerses you. It throws you into the game. You know, it really envelops your mind and your psyche and what's happening around you instead of looking at all these video game aspects on the screen. So that's how I love to play my games at all costs, especially the single player ones, you know. So as you can imagine, having that information is very valuable. And when you take it off the screen, it makes the game very difficult, much more difficult than normal. So not only did I do that to myself, I also refuse to look up any guides. I never go online. I never ask anybody for help. I never seek out a walkthrough or a guide to help me along the game, along the journey. So if that means I have to die at a boss 100 times, then so be it. If that means I'm going to be lost somewhere in a game for hours on end trying to figure it out, then so be it. You can look at my channel on any of the games I play and how long it takes, because I don't look things up. So yeah, the total playtime, guys, was over 50 hours. I think when you add up all my videos, all the playtimes, I think it was 40 episodes, 1 to 40, each anywhere from like an hour to 2 hours long, sometimes more than that. Especially the beginning, like the very beginning encounter took me like 6 hours. It was incredibly difficult, the beginning encounter. So yeah, I've looked online. I'm trying to find people that play on the hardest difficulty on their first playthrough, and I found 2 so far, but nobody who does it with no HUD and no aiming reticle. So I'm just trying to give you my unique perspective in that regard, that I, as far as I know, have played the game the hardest way possible, physically possible. And that was all self-inflicted on myself, right? That's why they have the difficulty modes. If you want to play on easy and just have a nice breezy old time, go for it. More power to you. That is not the way I like to play. I like to be challenged, pushed to the limit, banging my head against the wall, trying to figure things out over and over. It's just how I am. I get talk about a sense of pride and accomplishment. Okay, so yeah, it was, like I said, over 50 hours, probably closer, 53 hours total. But I would take away 10 to 15 of those hours in the sense of, like, that was just me looking around and fighting bosses over and over. Literally for 10 to 15 of the hours that I played, of these 55 hours, were just me exploring, or not even exploring, sorry, just looking at things. Like, literally just, like, staring at the environment, taking photographs. I took a lot of pictures. You'll see them in this review, in this analysis. Hopefully they're playing as we go. If I did it right, and hopefully there's beautiful music going on the entire video as well, and we'll get to all that. So yeah, that's the background on this game, on how I experienced it. It took me a whole month, by the way, from start to finish, playing it every day. I only played it at nighttime, dark, alone, with the lights off, pitch black. And it was just, long story short, if you just want to get out of here, like, amazing. Obviously, if you see this video and the way I've been talking, like, yeah, absolutely incredible. So if you have to leave, I totally understand. That's the long and short of it. You have 5 seconds. You want a 5-second review. Go play the game. Go buy it. Please, please, please. Play on the hardest difficulty that you're capable of playing, that you're comfortable playing. That's what I would recommend. And just get lost. And enjoy it. So yeah, like I said, 10 to 15 of the hours were just fighting bosses over and over, or staring at things. So, okay, fine, you want to take that off. Then this game is still like 35, 40 hours long for your first playthrough, if you choose not to look things up and play on the hardest difficulty with the handicaps that I have put on myself. So, I have a lot of experience in this game. That's why I'm telling you guys this, so hopefully you can trust my opinion and you can get something valuable out of this review and this analysis. I'm going to talk about the psychological analysis. Also, I have a whole playlist of them. They delve into the human behavior, to the core of the art, why the developers did what they did, why the creator did what they did, because I try to really get inside the psyche, inside the mind of the humans that created this product. And that's where the psychological analysis comes in. So it's going to be a review mixed with my own, neuroscience background and affinity. All right. And just for even more background and basis for you, I started playing Resident Evil during the year, I believe it was 2004 or 5, whenever Resident Evil 4 came out. I'll never forget it. My mother left me we were at the mall. She left me in EB Games. You guys, you're probably too young to know what that is, EB Games. And she went to go shop at like JCPenney's or Macy's or somewhere, you know what I mean? And I'm in there. I remember walking up to it, you guys, just walking up and seeing this station of the GameCube there, the little purple box, and on the screen it said Resident Evil 4, and then, press start to play or whatever. It was the demo. Oh my god, it was just the beginning of the game. It was the very opening of the game. You went in the cabin, you got owned by the guy, you try to show him the picture of Ashley, and then you go into the village, and then the chainsaw guy comes, and they all go to bingo, and that was it. And then it said Resident Evil 4, and the demo was over. Oh my god, I forget how old I was. I was a kid, and I fell in love. Somehow, some way I convinced my mom to get it. I don't think it was right then. It was probably took me a couple days or weeks to convince her, but eventually I got the game for the GameCube, and man. Ugh. And then ever since then, then the next one I played was 5. Then I fell off on 6 because I heard 6 was terrible, didn't play it. Then years and years go by, then 7 comes out, and when 7 came out, that reignited my love for the franchise. 7 came out, and then I was like, oh my god. And then I went back and played everything. I played 1, 2 remake, 3 remake when it came out, then 6, 0. I ended up playing all of them. Revelations 1, Revelations 2. I still haven't beaten Revelations 2 all the way because it's like in chapters, so I beat like the beginning. I haven't beaten, I think there's like 1 or 2 more chapters I need to do in Revelations 2. But otherwise, I just got off of the road to Resident Evil 8, you guys, that I did starting in October of 2020. I played 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. leading up to 8. Literally in that order. It's all on my playlist. Hundreds of videos on there. I think like 120 or 106. I forget how many. Like maybe even 200 videos. Lots of videos on that for that playlist. And yeah, so I have a lot of love and passion for Resident Evil. Not only have I played a lot in depth, but it's been a lot of quantity, very long. I've loved them for a very long time. I have quantity and I have quality when it comes to these games. So I hope you can trust my opinion when I tell you that this is a fantastic game and the things that I'm going to say. There are lots of negatives, don't get me wrong, and I will touch on all of them. But the way I'm going to structure this, I think, is it's going to be kind of like an ice cream sandwich, like a sandwich of compliment, like good things, then maybe some bad things, and then end it off with great things, you know, like a little sandwich. Because the bad things, it's constructive criticism. That's the thing. Everybody gets so offended over everything. You know, when people don't like something or people say something's bad, they're trying to help you improve. You know, they're doing it out of love and passion and care in their heart. So when people get so upset over things, it's like, no, you don't need to be mean about it, right? You don't need to say, oh, you suck, you're terrible, oh my God, you're horrible. No, you can just be like, look, this is why it's bad. This is how you can do better. This is a better alternative, you know? So, and that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to point out what's wrong, and then I'm going to say, this is how you can fix it, Capcom. Because this is a masterpiece of a game, you guys, that's held back by, you know, the greed of the publishers, the guys who rushed it out, who the suits at the top of the company. Not the developers, not the people who made the game. It wasn't really their fault. It was the guys at the top who, you know, forced them to get this out really fast when it needed more time in the oven and it needed to be produced for less consoles. But we'll get into that. We'll get into all that, guys. Okay, and then one more little intro, part of the intro before we begin. Don't worry, I'll watch through this. I have a feeling this is going to be long. I thought it was going to be about an hour long, but now the way I'm talking, it's seeming more like 2 hours at this point. And this is only me, 12 minutes in right now. Yeah. Okay. So, like I said, I have one more little topic to discuss before we dive in. And that is the environment and the political environment and the social, you know, situation we find ourselves in 2021, where we have a lot of movement going in political and being politically correct, and, you know, people getting offended over everything, and just basically the world is kind of doing like a 180 compared to how we've always existed throughout time. And it's been happening for the past, you know, decade or so, or 2 decades. Like, this movement's been coming. And for better or worse, it's the truth, right? You can't deny it. It's occurring. It is happening. So I believe that Capcom, having Lady Alcina Dimitrescu not only be the market target of this game, like they used her for all the marketing, all the advertisements, the trailers, like she was huge, and she is huge, larger than life, pun intended, right? They used her for all of that to get everybody excited, and she does play a big role in the game. Do not get me wrong, she does play a big role. However, not as big or large or time consuming as you would think based on the marketing that they did. But there's a positive here, and to me, I love, like we have I don't know how exactly to say it I'm trying to be as rated PG as possible. Video games are not wanting hyper masculine or hyper feminine characters in their storylines or players for some reason. And I mean, I have my own thoughts on that, but I love how Capcom just said, you know what? Screw that. You know, fuck that. We are going to put a hyper feminine character, beautiful, typical, you know, girl, you know, what you would think of for vampire, pretty, beautiful, busty, you know, her boobs are huge. Like, Capcom just went against the grain totally with that. Totally, with the way she dresses, the way she moves, the way she talks. It is just pure feminine beauty. And I adore that they did that. Not only is it my preference, that is what I prefer, you guys, to be honest with you, that is what I like. And if that makes me a terrible person, then so be it. That is what I like. I thought we're supposed to be inclusive and allow people to like what they like. So I prefer femininity. I'm sorry. if that makes you hate me, but that's the truth. And we're finding out, guys, that's what most of the world also prefers. That's why I love that they did this. Capcom said, you know what, we're not just going to put another Abby, like this man Hulk of a character into our game. No, we're going to have this 9'6" tall, beautiful, sexy vampire lady with boobs bigger than her head. Like, that's what we're going to do. And she's going to dress this way too, with the hat and everything. And just the way she moves and talks, so regal and feminine, just like a queen, like a freaking queen. And did it pay off, guys? That's what I have to ask you. Did it pay off? Go look at the videos. Don't trust a single word I say. I try to say this a lot. Don't trust a single word I say or any words that anybody says. Do your own research. Figure things out for yourself. Go look it up. Did their marketing pay off? Did the character pay off? How do people receive her? The vast majority. What are players saying? It is amazing. People love Alcina Dimitrescu. She is beautiful, smart, sexy, everything. She's great. I actually believe they should have done much more with her and all the characters. And we'll get into that. But for what we got, man, it's going against all of the grain of normal society and video games now in today's world, and I love it. It shows the world it exposed the world. Like, everybody loves it. You go look at the likes to dislike ratios. The world loves her. And why not? Why not? It's okay if you want to be a sexy girl. It's okay. Like, man, it's okay if you want to be beautiful like that. Man, I don't know why. Like, the hypocrisy of society is just, it blows my mind. So, but it's, like I said, it's been exposed. So the truth is out there now. You go look at any of these videos, anything with her in it, and everybody loves it. Like, it's 99% love, and then, of course, the 1% that hates it. And I think if we all think to ourselves, we'll know why that people hate that kind of beauty. It's not hard to understand why someone would be against it. Okay, so that's it. That is the intro. We are almost 20 minutes in, but don't worry, like I said, I'll put timestamps so you guys can zip right here. You can zip right to the beginning and not worry about any of my rambling on before. All right, guys, this is going to be broken down into 4 sections. We are going to have story and acting. That is their own 2 scores. We're going to take those 2 scores, average them together. Boom, we'll have the story/acting score. Number 2, we have the sound and music. Like, I tried to pair these together, and I'm still working on my review structure, guys. It's going to take me years to really dial this shit in. And this is the first time I'm really using this software to record myself anyway. I've streamed with this software, but this is the first time I've ever recorded with it. Ever. And the animations, man, it's just not quick enough. It's not smooth enough. I gotta send them lots of feedback. I gotta do feedback for these guys. They're on their way. They're on the way to greatness, but man, lots of improvements need to be made here. Okay. Like, they need to allocate their resources to animations and physics as opposed to just adding avatars and adding props. Like, 95% of what they do should be all about the physics and animations, because you already have great characters. Just make them better. This is the face rig, guys. Anyway, yeah, so then we have the sound and music. Okay, those are 2 separate scores, right, for the sound and the music itself. Then we're going to combine them, which is like the audio, essentially, right? That's the audio score. And then we also have graphics and location. The environments, right? The way the game looks. Once again, 2 separate scores we'll give there. We will average those, and then we'll have 1. And then last but not least will be the gameplay. We'll talk about the gameplay and how that is, which is obviously just 1 score. So we're going to take these 4 numbers together. We're going to take the gameplay number, the audio number, the environment number, which is the graphics and locations, and then the story and acting number, which I guess you could be like performance. We're going to take all 4 of those numbers, average them together, get our final score for the game. And by the way, I believe everyone should always use review scores. Nothing makes me more upset with the lack of determination, the lack of confidence, the lack of passion, the lack of putting your foot down when it comes to review scores. People don't want to do review scores because, once again, they don't want to actually give a number to something because they're not confident enough in their own opinion to score it. And that blows my mind, man. So, like, they'll talk for 30 minutes or an hour about a game, and then at the end you're like, okay, but like, how was it? Like, should I go buy this game? Should I play this game? Like, because they'll talk about stuff good, stuff bad. You got to give it a score. The score will tell the person that's listening or watching where it ranks on their own perspective, right? As long as they trust your opinion, as long as, you know, you're a worthy resource, then they will be like, oh wow, this person gave it an 8 out of 10 or a 7 or whatever. Okay, yeah, that's pretty good. That'll probably be a 9 for me, because I watch the review and I don't hold games to that high of a standard, you know? And then they'll be like, yeah, I'm gonna go buy it. Versus you just say, oh, hey, this is good and this part's bad. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. What? Well, the person's like, okay, but what's the score? Like, let's put a number on it. Let's put a statement on this thing. Is this a Game of the Year quality game or not? You know, is this going to be on the list of Game of the Year 2021 or not? And I'll be the first to tell you, my friends, it is. Mark my words. Resident Evil 8 Village will be at the Game Awards in December 2021, and it will be on the list for Game of the Year. Do I think it will win? No. Does it deserve to win? Maybe. Especially if they add DLC between now and then I would say absolutely. Because I don't know any other games that are coming out that can compete. Ratchet & Clank is one. Maybe No More Heroes 3. And I'm struggling to think of other ones. So, it should definitely be on the list. Which, by the way, will be the first time that a mainline Resident Evil game, a numbered Resident Evil game, any Resident Evil game will be on the list of Game of the Year, besides Resident Evil 2 Remake, which was a remake. I'm talking about an original Resident Evil game. First time ever is going to be on the list, a horror game, 2021 in December. Mark my words. Okay, so that's everything. All right, thanks for watching, guys. No, I'm kidding. Okay. Whew. Yep. Lady Dimitrescu Alcina. What a beautiful name, by the way. Oh my God, what a beautiful name. And all of her daughters. Oh, yes. Okay. So, I think the first thing we'll start with is the story and acting. You know, the performances. The story. I liked the story. It was good. It was very good. Could it have been exceptional? Could it have been a masterpiece? Yes. You'll see, which is the case for pretty much all of this. Like, this game has a masterpiece just teeming under the surface. But certain decisions they made, and along with the publishers rushing, it's holding it back, unfortunately. Okay. So, the story in particular, it's kind of bookended very well. You know, the beginning, you got some decent cutscenes, and then at the end, you got some decent cutscenes. But in the middle, man, it just kind of throws you in, and there's like barely any story at all. It's very, very little. And I think that the pacing in that regard with the cutscenes should have been much more drawn out. There should have been much more. I think there could have been double, if not triple, the amount of cutscenes in this game. Easily double. Maybe triple's too much, but easily double, and just fill out that middle section. I think it would have been much better. But I enjoyed the story, man. I'm trying to think, should I jump right into spoilers? Should I do it? I don't know. I'll try to do a little bit of both. Like, stay away from the spoilers and then circle back to the spoilers near the end. But but no promises, guys. Like I said, you got your spoiler warning at the very beginning, so I apologize. I love how this story, simultaneously, at the same time, it pushes the story of Resident Evil forward into Resident Evil 9, while simultaneously reaching back all the way to Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil 1. A lot of people don't give 0 enough love, man. I think it is the most underrated game in the franchise. Love that game. This game, Resident Evil 8, you guys, ties us back to it. And you learn that near the very end, of course, which is unfortunate, but still, I love how it ties into the lore of the series. Now, otherwise, the story is great. You know, at a very high level, it's a continuation of Ethan Winters from Resident Evil 7. If you don't have time to play all the games, you should. You should play 0 to 8 in a row. But if you can't, if you're too busy with life, I totally understand. At least, at the bare minimum, you have to play 7. You gotta play 7 before you play 8. My opinion, my personal opinion. Play 7. That'll introduce you to Mia Winters, Ethan Winters, their family, them, who they are. And then 8 is 3 years after 7. And, you know, they have a kid. And all you need to know is that the kid is taken, and Ethan and Mia are trying to find the kid. That's all you need to know. Okay, so, yeah. Love the story. Story was good, but there was a lot more they could have done with the characters, and we will... Oh, God, I want to get into it. Maybe I'm just going to jump into the spoilers, because I hate beating around the bush like this. Oh. Okay, let's do it. We're going in. Guys, spoilers, here we go. So, you meet these characters right in the beginning, like Luisa, Elena, Leonardo. You meet these wonderful characters that are incredibly acted and incredibly well done. And then everyone just dies instantly. Like, everybody dies instantly, man. And I get that. But if you were going to do that, Capcom, I feel like you should have had them die more drawn out. They should have died. They should have been killed off one by one and stayed with the player a little bit and seen different pieces. Like, maybe a werewolf, like, jumps in, you know, and they all scatter. And some of them survive and some of them die. And then some of them run away. And then we don't see those characters for, you know, hours down the road. And then they show up again. Like, there's so much they could have done with that. But they didn't, man. The characters were great. One of the negatives that I had, and I'll bring it up again, I suppose, later, but is the reuse of voice actors, man. Like, Chris Redfield is voiced by Carlos from Resident Evil 3, and I think that's, like, a terrible decision, you know? They also bring back Marguerite. She voices, I think, Luisa, and maybe even Elena. Like, I couldn't tell that it was her and Elena, but the Luisa, I could tell, and it's just like, it draws me out, it throws me out of the experience when I'm trying to enjoy the game, and then I'm hearing I'm hearing Carlos while Chris is looking at me. It's jarring. I don't know, I haven't heard anybody mention this, but all I saw was Carlos talking to me through Chris's body, and that was terrible. I'm not saying he did a bad job. No, he did fine. It's just, I played Resident Evil 3 first, the remake, so Carlos is in my head, and then I hear him coming out of Chris's mouth. It's like, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't know how that happened. I don't know how nobody thought that was a good idea, like a bad idea. And they nobody said, hey, you know, aren't players just gonna think this is Carlos? And it would be the opposite, guys. It's about whatever your brain latches onto first, your little, like, neuroscience, like the way the memories consolidate in your brain. The neurons will form tracks, and then when you experience new things, it all goes directly to that track, and your brain tries to, like, connect it and remember a previous time that you've experienced something like this. And this is how all experiences work. Your brain immediately tries to connect it to something else that you know, that you can identify. And so if you played 8 first and heard Chris like that, and then you played 3, you would be like, why does Carlos sound like Chris Redfield from Resident Evil 8? Why is it the same voice actor? See, you would think something's wrong, and that's because it is. So, yeah, I hated that part, that, like, why are they using Carlos as Chris's voice actor? Like, no. I think 7, I don't think 7 was Carlos, was it? 7's Chris was really good. Was it Carlos? Because if not, if that was the same guy, he did a much better job in 7 than he did in 8, because 7 actually sounds like a Chris, but 8 sounds like Carlos to me, man. So that's bad. And then Luisa being Marguerite. Like, once again, these characters, these actors and actresses are great. It's the fact that they were forced or asked to do characters in a very similar voice to their other characters. Like, it sounds like Marguerite. Luisa's talking, saying, like, oh, this house has protected my families for generations. And I literally am seeing and hearing Marguerite talking to me. Like, what the hell is Marguerite? So if they wanted to do that, though, they could have done it better. She could have been tied to Marguerite. Could have been like her cousin or something. You know what I mean? She could have said, oh, you know, this reminds me of something with my cousin who lives out in southern United States. It could have been a throwaway line like that. And we'd be like, oh my God, wait, this is Mrs. Marguerite's cousin, you know, the baker's cousin. Okay, that would be cool. But no, it's just a new character, Luisa, who lives in Romania here. And that's where we are, by the way, I think in Europe, in Romania, I believe. And lei, L-E-I, or Lee, is the currency. So for those of you that are more savvy than I am in world culture, let me know. Is lei, I believe it's Romania. or Lee, L-E-I, I don't know how you say it. I'd prefer Lei. But yeah, it sounds like she's Marguerite, you know? It just, once again, throws me out of the experience. Dumps the immersion. It's like, come on, man. Like, at least have her do a different voice, much different, like, unrecognizable, or get a different actress to do it. But she was great. They're all great. Like I said, don't get me wrong. The actors and actresses are great, but it's the decisions that were made to put them in the characters that they had. No. She could have been a lichen, she could have been an animal, put her somewhere else where it's indistinguishable. You cannot tell that it's Marguerite Baker. Unless you wanted to connect it to the story, which you didn't do. So, things like that, you know, and not learning, like, we should have learned so much more about Alcina, Dimitrescu, and the daughters, like Moreau, Heizenburg. We should have learned so much more. This game could have been, like I said, twice, like, it could have been twice as long, or just had twice as many cutscenes. We should have learned much more about these characters, man. Because they were all so interesting. Moreau, I loved all of them. House Beneviento, Donna, I didn't know anything about these people. Like, you didn't learn anything really about them. Alcina and the daughters, you learn, I guess, the most. Okay, that they're all together, and, you know, you read notes that they were turned into the flies and stuff, you know, by Mother Miranda. But it's like, man, like, a lot of it is through notes, and I get that, but there should have been more cutscene, more exposition, more dialogue going on, more mini cutscenes, just very short and quick things, you know, that could have occurred. So, and the pacing too, like, absolutely, I am going to go to my grave believing this, no question about it, and I can't believe they didn't do it. Like, the castle is the first thing you do, and it should have been the last thing you do. You know what I mean? Like, they blew their load too early, Capcom. I guess that maybe the research shows most players only played X amount of hours, whatever. Let's put the castle right in the beginning, the best part. Like, no. The castle should have been the absolute climax of this game. The way I would have probably done it is start it off, you know, you go in the village, you go to the castle first. You get to the very intro, just that very intro room with the 4 statues that show up. You can't go through any of the other 3 doors in there. And then you get thrown out by Alcina, like literally genuinely thrown out of the castle, like through a window or something, into the snow. And then you don't see the castle again till the very end of the game. Like, literally tease the player to the utmost degree. You teased him with all the marketing, you know, about Alcina, Dimitrescu, and all the daughters, the beautiful, sexy vampires everywhere in that castle. Tease the player that they go in, they play the game, they're ready for the castle, right? They go in, they explore the village a little bit, they finally make it into the castle a few hours in. They explore the castle a little bit, maybe an hour, you know, 30 minutes, and then something happens. They get literally chucked out by the daughters and Lady Double D, and they're out of the castle. The player is done. You don't see the castle again until the very end of the game, and it's the last place you go to. That's how it should have been done, in my opinion. The castle was the best part, and they blew their load too quickly. So it's like, man, come on. The pacing of that could have been so much better. And like I said, the pacing with the characters and having them more spread out and not dying all at once and actually getting to know them and spend time with them. They were likable characters. They were interesting characters, the vast majority of them. And it's just like, man, I wish we got to spend more time, you know, and really flesh out some of their stories and fight alongside of them, even if for a few seconds, till they die, till they get killed, whatever, just something. We didn't get any of that, man, unfortunately. So, with the story, my rating for the story itself, out of 10, this is all out of 10, 7.5. It was good, but so many things were either mixed up, mismatched, or left out completely that I believe could have propelled it. It could have been a 10 out of 10 story. Could have been a 10 out of 10 story. Sorry. Also, another thing about the story, like, there's the vampires and werewolves, right? As far as I know, in, like, lore and mythology or whatever, and, you know, Victorian stories, European stories, they are like enemies, aren't they? Vampires and werewolves. Like, werewolves' weakness is a silver bullet, and then the vampire's weakness is garlic, right? And it's crazy because it's like they had that. They had it. It's like, it's almost like Capcom wanted to do what I'm saying right here. In the village, there's a lot of houses. They always have garlic strewn up around them. where you only fight the lichens, where you only fight the werewolves. And then in the castle where you're only fighting like with the vampires, there's silver all over the place. Like there's silver embedded, there's silver jewelry, silver plates, and there's silver wine bottle. Like the most ornate, the most beautiful decorated wine bottle has silver flowers going down it. And like it doesn't do anything. You don't do anything with it. I thought maybe, you would drink it and like get a power up, or it would lead you somewhere to find silver bullets so that you could take those bullets and go back to the village and fight the lichens, go fight the werewolves with the silver bullets you found in the castle. And vice versa, when you're in the village, you would find garlic and somehow, strap it on yourself, whatever, bring it in, load it up into a gun somehow, make garlic bullets, coated, and shoot them at the vampires. I thought that they would have the lore of these creatures going against one another. But they didn't. There was none of that. Like, you find this beautiful wine bottle with ornate flowers. You don't drink it. No one drinks it. You just set it down on a thing. Like, missed opportunities, man. Missed opportunities. They set themselves up and then didn't execute. They set themselves up and they just did not pull the trigger on some of these beautiful things. So yeah, 7.5, man. It's good. It's an above average story, but it could have been a 10 out of 10 story. Now, the acting is a different story. The acting in this game, truthfully, superb. I believe most of these characters could be and deserve to be on the best performance acting list this year at the Game Awards once again. Alcina Dimitrescu, Lady D, Mia, Ethan Winters, Heizenburg, even Moreau, even though he barely got any screen time at all. Man. Mother Miranda was good. The old lady was good. But the top three for me, and even top four, Heizenburg, Ethan, Mia, and Lady Dimitrescu. Any of them can be on the list, and any of them could win, and I would be totally happy and content with that, because once again, I just don't know of any other games that are coming out AAA this year, 2021. Certainly not before this. We're mid-June right now. It's like June 8th as of the recording of this video. Nobody can compete, man. There's nothing out here. I don't know any games out here with acting performances or any games in general that are competing with this. Ratchet and Clank, like I said, maybe No More Heroes 3, and I don't know what else. I genuinely do not know what else. So yeah. The score for the acting, for me, near flawless, 9.5. Just absolutely incredible. So when you average them together, I think it comes out to like 8.3 or something, but for the performances, everything, we are just going to, because of the story, because of the missed opportunity, instead of rounding up, we will round down. It's an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 for the story and acting together, for the performances together as a whole. 8 out of 10. Very well done. Very well done. Like I said, individually, the acting, 9.5. Near flawless. Near flawless. The delivery of the lines. Some of my favorites is Ethan when he says, why the fuck is everyone dying on me? And then he says, why the fuck is this happening again? And he bangs his fist on the wall. So well done, man. So well done. And he says, I don't get it. Oh, and that whole scene, man, with Luisa and them. Ethan, incredible. Mia the whole time. Anytime Mia's on the screen. Oh, my God. Just blows me away. Her performance. Ever since 7. I fell in love with Mia in 7. I liked Ethan in 7. I fell in love with him in 8. But Mia, I loved her ever since 7. Ever since I first saw her. The way she moved, the way she talked, the inflections in her voice, her delivery, how she draws out her lines, how she puts so much heart into her voice. It is just, I love Mia. So, hope to see more of her in 9. And then, of course, Alcina Dimitrescu. And her daughters were great, too. The daughters, Bella, Cassandra, and Daniela. All amazing. We didn't get enough time with them. Once again, that's part of the story. We didn't learn much about the daughters, You see the picture of the beautiful daughters there. You don't learn. Apparently, I think they've been in that castle 100 years or something. We should have gotten backstory. We should have learned little things about each one. I didn't learn their names. It didn't teach me their names. I didn't know who I was fighting. And I don't know if I missed it or what, but I didn't know who I was fighting. I was guessing. If you look at my playthrough, I'm guessing, is this Daniela? Is this Cassandra? Is this Bella? Like, I thought the first one was Bella. I thought the second one was Daniela, and the last one was Cassandra. That's what I thought, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm right. Who knows? I was just basing it off their names and their hairstyles and personalities that I was fighting. I don't know. I can't believe Cassandra caused all this mess. I heard that so much because she was the first. I think it was Bella. I don't know if it's her. It's either Bella or Daniela. I fought her first, and oh my god. She kicked my ass for like 2 or 3 hours straight. So that line is ingrained in my memory. So yeah. Story and acting, 8 out of 10, combining them. Story, 7.5, because of so many missed opportunities. Background on Moreau, background on Daniela, on Cassandra, Bella, background on Heizenburg, Moreau, sorry, I said Moreau, what's her name, Donna, like, Heizenburg, they all should have had better background, man, and more screen time. Makes me sad. Missed opportunity with the story. It was good, just not good enough. They should have pushed it further. Which once again could have come from another year of development, which I believe the game needed, and dropping off the old consoles to take those people, those developers, add them onto the team to actually develop instead of just coding. Does this work on the PlayStation 4? Does this work on the Xbox One? No. Kick that shit out of there. Get all those extra hands, all those extra minds and hearts, put them into the game to really make the core game better and longer. Oh, you know, one thing I did want to say. Yes, of course. I can't believe I skipped this. I'm sorry, guys. We have to go back. I'm so silly lion. Two criticisms I want to address right away. I wanted to do this at the very beginning. These are the two most common criticisms I see for this game. They say it's too short. People say it's too short, and people say it's not scary enough. Okay. Now, the second one, I can kind of get behind, especially near the end. You know, okay, they should have done more scares, like House Beneviento, flawless, and I hope they lean more into that coming into Resident Evil 9. But as far as the length, okay, well, let me just back up, guys. I've said this in many videos, and I'll continue to say it because I understand that people don't watch all my videos, so I will repeat myself if necessary if I think it's going to help the world and help people better consume and interact with art. So the best way, this is just like an objective, in my opinion, objective fact. You can have your own opinion as well, but I believe this is a fact. The best way to experience art, any kind of art, movies, music, games, painting, books, what have you, any kind of art, the best way to do it, in my opinion, is to try to match yourself, your psyche, your emotions, your state of being, your mindset. Match it with the artist mindset, their state of being, their mind. You want to experience the emotions that they were feeling, that they were going through when they created the art. You see what I'm saying? So if an artist is feeling a certain way, sad and terrible and dark and gloomy, and then they create a painting or whatever, or a movie or a thing, hopefully when you experience it, you too will feel those same emotions that they felt, whether it be sad or happy. You see what I'm saying? So the easiest example I can give is with Doom, the game Doom. If you don't know the game Doom, it is probably the most fast-paced shooter in the world out there. Total aggression, total just go, no stopping. Doom is all about that. It is the polar opposite in terms of movement and in terms of gameplay to Resident Evil. Resident Evil is the opposite. It is slow, methodical, haunting, creepy, and even Capcom themselves, this is why I know this is a fact, because Capcom themselves have said it. They said they want you to take your time playing this game, play slowly, play as if, the quote is this, I believe, they want you to play it as if you are living in this world and you are living and experiencing a horror movie. Okay, now keep that in mind. And then you go look at YouTube, go look at people's videos and Twitches of the streamers and how they play the game. They are running around, speeding around, sprinting everywhere, talking to their chat with the lights on in broad daylight and the brightness turned up so they can see everything, with noises of subscriptions coming on the screen constantly. And they're sprinting everywhere, and they're playing on an easy difficulty or normal, and then they say, the game is not scary. the game is too short. Oh, and then they also, of course, and this is the biggest sin to me of all, it's like people look stuff up. If they get to a part they can't find out real quick, they can't figure it out in the first 2 minutes, they look it up. They just go online and watch a walkthrough and look at a guide. Man, there's no quicker way to destroy an experience than to go look up the spoilers, go look up guides and walkthroughs, and to play specifically a horror game in broad daylight with the lights turned on, with your chat going on the screen, and everybody talking, and the subscription sounds going off. Like, how could you ever be afraid? How could anybody be scared during that situation? Explain that one to me. I must be missing something here. So they're sprinting around through the game, playing on the easier difficulties. Okay, no. Listen to what Capcom said. Like I said, don't trust my word. They said it themselves. They want you to play this game as if you were living in a horror movie. Tell me, my friends, if you were actually in Ethan's place, if you were actually the character in this game, would you be sprinting around, talking and yelling and screaming everywhere and just, shooting, wasting all your bullets on every single thing that moved? No. You would be walking through the whole game. You would be creeping around every corner, slowly opening every door, saving every bullet that you could if this was real for you, if you were living this. You would be petrified. You would be experiencing those dark corridors in pitch black. So, obviously I'm not in the game, so as a player, the best thing you can do psychologically is to put yourself in that experience the best you can. You gotta play at night. You gotta play alone. You have to play in the dark. You have to play in the highest state of mind that you can. Just be as enthralled and engrossed into the experience as you can, right? That's what I mean. You want to have as few distractions around you as possible. No brightness turned up. You want it as dark as possible while being able to see, of course. You gotta have the colors, everything come through. But you don't want it turned up to the max of brightness. You don't want light shining on you and on your television screen. You don't want birds chirping outside and people walking around your house or your apartment talking. No. You want to do it in the dead of night when you're alone. And preferably cold, because this game takes place in winter, when the game should have come out in winter. I'm so upset that it didn't. Like, the whole game is in winter with snow, and it's like, come on. Why? Why did it not come out during the Halloween? That's the thing with scary games. Like, I implore all developers, if you ever watch this, talk about adding to the psychological experience. If you're gonna make a horror game, there's only a few months of the year that you should ever release a horror game, and that's October, November, December. Maybe even January, but that's it. During the creepiest, coldest months of the year. Nope, this showed up at the end of spring, like early summer. It's like cicadas are outside, it's sunny all day long, like not the best time, man. It's not conducive to a horror type experience, Like, imagine you watch a horror movie, guys. You watch a horror movie at 10 in the morning with the windows open and the sun's coming in. Like, you're not going to be that scared. How about you watch it at 1 in the morning, pitch black, with your windows open, looking out into pitch black darkness? Yeah, you tell me you don't have a different experience then. And also, once again, don't look anything up on these guides, with the guides and walkthroughs, and play on a harder difficulty, and you sit there and look at me in the eyes and you tell me that this is a short game. This is not a short game. People just play on the normal and easy difficulties, so of course it's going to be short then. And they look stuff up when they get stuck. And they play with the HUD on, so there's all these things popping up around the screen showing them where to go. And they use every little trick and advantage that they can. No, if you play it like a horror movie, there's no reticle in real life, guys. You don't see your ammo on the corner of your screen in real life. That's why I play like that, right? So when I'm shooting my shotgun, I'm trying to think, do I have enough bullets in here? I'm trying to count the amount of bullets I'm shooting while fighting, because that's how it would be in real life. You wouldn't know how many you had left. You'd have to count every shot, right, if you were fighting zombies. That's how the horror comes in, you guys. You want to play these games, specifically Resident Evil games, Dead Space, Evil Within. You want to play them at night, HUD off, hardest difficulty that you can personally handle. Don't look things up. And I promise you, don't have the chat on, don't have the lights turned on. And I promise you, you will be afraid. You will feel fear. 100% every human. Because there's certain things, guys, that every human fears, no matter how tough someone might seem. There are innate fears that are ingrained into our DNA, into our neurons, okay? So much so that specific neurons have specified simple brain cells, individual brain cells, have evolved to the point to respond to certain stimuli that are perceived as threats. Do you understand what I'm saying? Fear is such an ingrained part in who we are as humans. Why? Because fear, we have to be afraid of things. If we're not, we die. We die off and we don't reproduce. We don't have kids. We don't pass our genes on. Boom, we're done. So fear is so important. Fear is more important than happiness for the brain. You understand? Because when you're happy, you're not worried about dying. The brain doesn't care about that. The brain doesn't have a specific happy center. You understand what I'm saying? There's a part of the brain near the very center. It's called the amygdala, okay? It's literally the fear center of the brain. It's all about fear. It just houses your most deep, dark, terrifying memories and experiences. I mean, come on. There's no happy center of the brain. No, and isn't it funny that it's near the very middle of the brain, the very center? It almost tells you right then and there, just our anatomy. Our neurochemistry tells you how important fear is and how crucial it is. It is in the center of the brain. It protects the fear center. The brain, the body itself protects our fear center. Isn't that nuts to think about? Fear is the most important emotion, man. It keeps us alive. So yes, you play this at night, no guides, on a hard difficulty. Man, you look at me in the eye and you say, oh, it's not scary. Oh, it's too short. Get the hell out of here, man. This shit took me over 50 hours. And I'm no slouch. I'd love to see people do this, all these people. They say it's too easy, it's too short, it's not scary. Play on Village of Shadows at night alone. And don't have the HUD on, don't look anything up. Let me know how that goes for you. Play like it would be a real life experience. That's why I do it the way I do, you guys. It's like, it's the closest I can get to real life. I want to be encapsulated in the fear in the world that I'm in. I want to experience it to the utmost degree, to the concept artist's mind, to their psyche, to their mindset. To the audio designer's cues with the doors opening, the shotgun reloading, the pistol echoing in the distance, the growls and the sounds of the zombies and the lichens. I want to literally be encapsulated in it. You play it like that, man, you will feel fear. I promise you that. So yes, this is a scary game. This is a survival horror game through and through. And anyone that says otherwise, you have to, like I said, you have to play on the hardest difficulty with the certain environment. I was going to say about Doom. Perfect. Imagine playing Doom. This was the best example I can give. Imagine playing Doom and just play it like Resident Evil. Walking really slowly, conserving your ammo, only firing, when you have a headshot lined up. Are you going to have a good time playing Doom like that? Would anybody have a good time? Would anybody survive? No. It would be terrible. It would be horrible because you're not playing the game the way it's meant to be played. You're not experiencing the art from the artist's perspective. You see the point that I'm trying to drive home here, you guys? You see what I'm really getting at, the core of this? You want to experience the art the way the artist wanted you to. So when Zelda comes, Zelda is all, you want to play it as if you are the guys who are making the game. Like, what would they want us to be doing? Exploring over here, doing things like this, figuring out how to fight bosses, figuring out how to find items and using those items, combining those items. Versus, you could just look it up, follow a walkthrough on YouTube and just speed run the whole game, your first playthrough. Are you going to have a great experience, guys, when you do it like that? Is anyone going to have a great experience? No! Dopamine is so important. The neurochemistry, the neurotransmitters of this, it goes so deep, you guys. It's just like, when you can experience any piece of art or medium, you can experience it hundreds of times in your life, right? Think about that. Okay, cool, great. I can watch a movie a million times, right? I can play a game a million times, whatever. Tell me this, how many times can you experience it for the first time? Only once. You can only have a first impression of something once. So the dopamine receptors, the dopamine release and response and sensitivity in your neural tracts, the ventral tegmental area, this VTA, so these tracts of dopaminergic sensitive neurons, literally they form and they connect to other neurons when you experience something pleasurable or happy, or you're anticipating something pleasurable. It is no comparison. The first time you experience something versus the second, third. It just drops off. It probably halves itself. You know, you think about anything you've done in life. The first time you do it's the most pleasurable. It's the most fun, right? Then you do it again. It's still good. It's good the third time. And then it tapers off. It tapers off. You don't get the same response. You just don't. Because the brain's used to it. The body's used to the stimuli. So the first time you play something, man, I'm telling you guys, this is for not for Resident Evil. This is for all things in life. Movies, books, everything. Stay away from spoilers the best you can, because spoilers will ruin your experience. Because like I keep trying to say, you can only experience it for the first time once. And if someone already told you that something happened in this movie or this TV show or whatever, this game, it's ruined. It's ruined for you. You can only experience it for the first time once. So then no matter how many times you play it, it'll never be the same. It'll never be the same as it could have been if you had gone in blind and not looking stuff up or being told what's going to happen. So I really implore all of you to play games and movies, watch movies and books. Don't look spoilers up. Don't talk to anyone about it until you are finished with the product, and do not spoil it for anyone else. That's one of the worst things I think people can do for others, is to ruin an experience like that. Because like I said, then it just screws up the dopamine. It screws up the pleasure. It screws up the happiness that you will get when you experience it. You're like, oh yeah, I already knew this was going to happen. I saw it online. No. Bullshit, man. That's why when I see people say, oh, they have spoiler-free reviews, then they're just showing me, like, enemies, like, different enemy types from the game, things I've never seen before, different locations. I'm like, no, get that away from me. To me, everything is a spoiler, because you can only experience turning around that corner for the first time once. You can only experience opening up that chest for the first time once. And once you know what's in there, it's in there, and that's it. It's ruined for you. But before you open that box, you guys, before you open that door, before you open that chest, what can go in? What can be in there? This is where quantum mechanics comes in and infinite parallel universes come in. What can be in a box before you open the box, you guys? Think of any box in any game. What could be in there? You don't know. It could be anything. You see what I'm saying? There's infinite possibilities. Then the moment you open that door, you take infinity, you take an infinite number of possibilities, and you collapse them down into one reality. Only one thing is going to be in that box, or only one location is going to be behind that door. But before you open that door, until you observe it, it can be anything. Infinity exists inside of that room. Infinity exists inside of that box. Could it be an animal? Could it be a weapon? Could it be an item? Could it be a piece of food? You don't know until you open it. Then once you open it, it collapses those infinite realities, those potentials. It collapses it into one wave function. The function literally collapses down to one, from infinity to one. And that's it. And then forevermore, when you play that game or watch that movie, you know what's going to be in the box, you know what's going to be behind that door, and it's nowhere near as scary or exciting for you for the rest of your life. That's why, to me, what I try to do is forget things. I go back in time, quote unquote, psychologically, by going forward in time. I wait 2 years before I play games, normally. If I play a game like right now, I normally wait 2 years to play that game again. Why? At least. Why? Because I want to forget. I want to forget what was in that box. I want to forget what happened in that storyline, whatever. I want to forget and experience it fresh and new again. Let my dopamine cells, the neurons, reset themselves, right? And have no expectation on what's going to happen. So the longer you can wait after playing something or experiencing it, the better. So I've only played my favorite games like Ocarina of Time. I've maybe played 5, maybe 10 times in my life. But it's my favorite game of all time. You would think I've played it 20 or 100 times. No, because I don't want to, like, lower the dopamine. I don't want to lower the pleasure I get from the game. So I try not to play games I love very often. I spread them out. So, yeah. Okay, so that's my little rant on that, you guys. Please experience the art the way it's meant to be. Like, I'm watching all these reviews. I'm not going to call it any names. It's just a lot of the people that say, pretty much everyone that says it's too short, or it's not scary enough, or whatever, or it's too actiony, it's not horror oriented. They play on easier difficulties, and with the HUD on, and lights on, stream on in the middle of the day. Of course you're not going to be afraid. Of course. Like, unbelievable, man. Imagine watching a horror movie, you know, like in your car in the middle of the day. You're going to be like, okay, this is... okay, whatever. You watch that same movie, pitch black at night, alone. No comparison, man. No comparison. In the right state of mind? Oof, forget it. Forget it. Oh, okay. So, I'm going to pause this here. I'm going to save this clip. Hopefully this saves. It's about an hour long right now. We're an hour in. I knew this was going to be 2 hours. Yeah. We will get right back to it. Let's see if this saves, and then I will start up the next one. Okay, so to close off this section, I want to touch on a few more aspects of the story. I think it would have been cool, especially in the Heizenburg part, if we teamed up with him, you know? He really wanted to kill Mother Miranda, which we wanted to do as well, and he said he wanted to help us, but, you know, Ethan completely turned him down. Everywhere else it makes sense that he killed the people, because Moreau, House Beneviento, Alcina Dimitrescu, everyone was trying to kill him, you know? Ethan was a target. But with Heizenburg, he sits him down, he talks to him rationally, and he explains, like, hey man, this girl's fucked up, she took us, she tortured us, she turned us all into her children. Like, I want to help you, and you can get Rose back, and we can kill her. But Ethan doesn't have any of it, so I think that could have been a very interesting storyline, teaming up with Heizenburg. I just really wanted more character time for all these wonderful people. And I thought that Heizenburg maybe made those special weapons, you know, like the shotgun, the grenade launcher, and the Magnum, because they have those special designs. So I was thinking maybe those are the only weapons we'd have to use on the boss fight, because they take special bullets, they're designed in a certain way by Heizenburg, you know? I thought that would have been so amazing, because I saw his horseshoe, like, his symbol was the horse and the horseshoe, so I figured that meant, like, blacksmith machinery, you know, working with metal. So I thought maybe he made those guns, and only those particular weapons, loaded with a particular type of ammo, would have been the only way to do it, to take out Mother Miranda. I thought that would have been amazing, you know? You find the guns throughout the map, throughout the village, and then you find the ammo scattered throughout in certain locations. You have to build the ammo, you have to create the ammo. Man, it would have been awesome. So unfortunately, that didn't happen. Okay, so, and yeah, just about the castle, man. Like, I wish, not only the castle, but with all the characters, I wish we could have saved them. Like, I wish there was a way to bring them back. And I'll touch on this with the DLC too, with what I hope for the DLC. But I wish there was a way, you know, to bring Alcina and her daughters back, because when you go through the house and you look at the stuff, like, they look like they were a normal family. Like, they were just a royal family that was living there, and they weren't harming people and eating people and drinking their blood or whatever, until they got infected by Mother Miranda. So, I don't know, man. I wish there was a way to bring them back, bring their consciousness back out of it, because there's that one picture in that one book on that one desk in the castle where it looks like Mother Miranda is infecting Alcina with the mutamicite, the like heart of it, while she's sleeping. And God, it just makes me so sad if that's the case, because that means they were good people, you know? Man. For DLC, this game could easily go up another half a point if the DLC is decent, and a full point if they do it right, because they could give us more DLC on all of them. Like, the villagers could get DLC, the castle could get DLC, and the other bosses, House Beneviento, Heizenburg, and Moreau, they could all get their own DLCs. I mean, there's so much potential here, Capcom. Please, please, please do not squander this. Give us some DLCs, develop DLC. It could be amazing. Oh, little story. Yeah, once again, like, spoilers. Chris could have totally carried Ethan. You know, at the end there. Chris is strong enough. Chris is boulder punching Chris. He just went through RE6. He's strong as hell. He went through RE7. He's here in 8, more badass, than ever. He could have easily picked up Ethan and carried him on his shoulder and ran right out of there. And once again, I hated how they used the same voice actor as Carlos. All I hear is Carlos talking to me. It's terrible, man. I can't get him out of my head. I love Carlos, and I love his voice actor. But I don't want Carlos's voice coming out of Chris. Man, I guess I'm the only person that feels that way. I haven't heard anyone talk about it. Oh yeah, moments of working with somebody would have been nice, and I hope they do that in 9. Like, even if it's very brief, like Luis. I think of Luis from RE4 when you're trapped in that cabin. Is that or is that not one of the most iconic moments in gaming history? Where you're there, Ashley's in there with you, she hides upstairs in the closet, and you're on the bottom floor barricading the windows and the doors with Luis, trying to hold off hundreds of zombies coming at you. It's more like dozens, but seems like hundreds. Oh my god, dude. Incredible. So yeah, I hope, I wanted to get some of that, but we didn't get any of that. Fighting with anybody and, working together with someone, even if it was for a little bit, or even if you had to split up and then meet back up like Luis did too. Like, man, I love RE4. And escort missions. Oh, escort missions. They could have included it. I would have loved it. I would have loved to do an escort. I thought we were going to do it. We were getting ready to do one with Elena. Getting out of the house. I would have loved to do an escort mission. And by the way, they could still do a DLC. Like, they could do DLC in such a good way. They could do DLC that's a prequel, and then they could do DLC that's maybe even taking place during the game, and then they could do DLC after. That takes place after. Oh, they could do it. They could do incredible stuff. What if they do one with the villagers? I swear they live, man. The father and her, Elena, I swear. I hope they do. I don't know. Just because they were there for so short, and the Luisa said this house has protected their family for generations, and it's like we didn't hear any screams when they went in the fire, so maybe they fell through into the basement or something, and they escaped down there. And then the dad, Leonardo, ended up taking over his body, like bringing himself back from being infected. Oh, it could be so cool, man, because we've never seen that in Resident Evil. We've never seen it. The closest thing we had was Brad in RE3 Remake when he was like fighting and saying he's sorry before he bites Marvin. But otherwise, we haven't experienced it, man. Well, not that I know of, where someone's like turning and then they fight it like in a hardcore way. And this guy, Leonardo, fought it even more than Brad did, because not only did he talk, but he did not bite Luisa when she went down to him in the fire. He was not attacking her at all, so he had more control than Brad did. Oh, man. Oh, man. Okay, so I think that sums up the rest of my story points for now. Moving on to graphics and location, which is I'm bundling into like what I call the environment, right? The things that you experience, that the places you go, and what you look at and how they look. Well, the graphics of this game. When you're moving and playing, I played on the PlayStation 5. When you're moving and playing, with ray tracing on, by the way, and when you're running around and fighting and experiencing the game, it does stutter a lot. The frame rate is not perfect by any stretch. With the frame, like I said, ray tracing on, if you turn that off, I'm pretty sure it locks to 60. But for me, I wanted the most beautiful experience possible, and I didn't play fast, I played slow. So, that also helped with the frame rate. But when you're playing, it looks great. However, when you stand still, when you just stand still and look at something, it looks like a painting. It looks like a photograph of real life. I mean, look at the images on the screen. Hopefully, my background image right here where I'm on this path. Like, oh my god, dude. Oh my god. It looks great. It looks fantastic. Hauntingly beautiful. And yeah, all the images that you're seeing, hopefully in the video, if I did this right, you're seeing a bunch of images play throughout the video with music, by the way. And the game is just jaw-droppingly gorgeous. It is a sight for sore eyes, you guys. Resident Evil 8 is one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen in my life. Truly, it's up there with like The Last of Us Part 2. And this was not developed by an in-house engine exclusive company. No, this was Capcom developing this game for every every platform on the planet. I think like 9 consoles. It's unbelievable. It's getting close to a dozen consoles they're developing this shit for. It's nuts. So, not just one. you gotta tip your hat. You gotta give credit where credit is due, man. Look around. Like, don't believe me. Use your eyes. Look at this place. And not only, okay, so the graphics, the textures, the inside the castle. Oh my god, the chandelier. It is the most beautiful chandelier I have ever seen in a video game and in my life. Like, I don't even know of a chandelier that I've seen that's more attractive looking than that in design wise. It is astounding. It is breathtaking. Looking around, exploring the castle. Oh, the graphics, the textures, man. Some of the textures, like I said, it's very inconsistent. This game is very inconsistent in a lot of ways. And its graphics are one of them. Some of the places look absolutely fantastic, and then other textures, they look terrible. And you can tell it's because of last gen. They're being held back because of last gen. They're developing for so many consoles. You know, this is all technical difficulties. Because you can see what it does. You can see what they can do. There's certain moments where the game looks truly next gen. And it's like, okay, why don't these other parts look next gen? Well, you got to think. They only have X amount of resources. Some of it had to go into the old consoles, unfortunately. So, that's that. So, having that, you know, taken into account, I think the graphics are honestly 8.5 or 9. 9 out of 10. Just superb. Superb graphics. But not 10 out of 10 because, like I said, they're held back. It's very inconsistent. There are some pretty bad textures in this game. So, yeah. It'd probably have to be an 8.5 on the graphics. But the locations, oh my god, the places you go to in this game, it's probably the most beautiful Resident Evil game and most varied Resident Evil game that I can think of. Like, you go to the different feels, the different tones, the different atmospheres, right? Not just the environment or the place that you're in, but the different tone and atmosphere and the emotions that they evoke. Everything from dungeons underground to graveyards to obviously the village, the castle, the European castle, the Heizenburg factory, the stronghold where the Lycans hang out. When, you know, you go to their den where all the Lycans are. House Beneviento, Moreau, Heisenberg's factory. I think I already said that. Just the different places, man. The forest, walking around through the forest areas, the paths, the different paths you take. The underground part of House Beneviento, dude, it's just the most. You get on the boat, you ride that little boat around. Down the little canal. Mountainsides, you know, you go on mountainsides. There's a waterfall. Like, the locations in this game, bro. The locations are a 10 or a 9.5 for me. They are near perfection. Like, I'm struggling to think of other places that I would want to go in Resident Evil games. And the only other one, like I talked about and will talk about, is Resident Evil 9. I would love it to take place in a neighborhood, in an actual fucking neighborhood with different houses. And the different lighting you can do with those houses is just oof. And different designs, like, yeah. So we'll get into that. Let me drink. Oh, my computer screen is just going black, flickering this whole time. It's sketching me out. It's terrifying. But, so yeah, I mean, it's just breathtaking. Like, honestly, you just have to stop and stare when you play this game. Please, I implore you, I beg you, please. Stop and stare and just take screenshots and just look at things and just sit there and soak it all in, because the game is a sight for sore eyes, man. I mean, some of the... And okay, yeah, one of the points I wanted to touch on with the imagery is, like, when you look at things, to me, it's... One way to describe it would be beautiful yet sad. Like, even the background here that you see, like, it's beautiful to me, for many reasons, because of the snow, the fog, the lighting, the trees. But it's sad and haunting too, because it's like empty. There's like nothing here, you know? And it's just, the fences are, you know, waning and rotting away, and you can tell they haven't been kept up with. But like, there was once life here. There was once passion and order and some kind of sense of unity that existed. And you see it throughout this whole game, man. Like, the details in the houses, you can see the pots still out, and all the decorations on the walls of pictures, and beds that are unmade, you know, with the covers just strewn to the side. It's like, man, the immersion. There's so many good immersive things here in this game. I just wish they had more people, man, more interactions with people, and more interactions with the environment itself. But oh my god, the way it is, it's like, to me it's kind of like, it's like the land itself, the village itself, these environments are crying out to us. Like, they're crying out to the players, saying, you know, help me, restore me, bring me back to life, bring the sense of community, of society back to this place. It's hauntingly beautiful, man, and very sad. I love it. I loved every second of it. Truly. Truly, truly. And the HDR, man, the lighting, the HDR, like, when you're walking into a dark room, when you're in a light area, like one specific one I'm remembering is right in the middle of the village, right by that well, in the very middle of the village, with the statue, with this lady with the sword and the shield. There's that well, and right next to that well is a staircase going down into a basement. And with HDR on a 4K TV like I was playing, you're walking down those stairs slowly. Bro, it is terrifying outside. Or inside. Outside is great. You're in the middle of the village, you're fine at that point. When you're walking down, it is pitch black, and you see the light, like, go from visible to completely pitch black inside. You don't know what it is. You don't know how big the place is, how big, how deep, what lies within there. The tense feelings that you get in this game with HDR on and ray tracing, oh my god, dude. Oh my god. Marvelous, marvelous, my friends. So, when you walk in there, by the way, once again, spoilers, it's like nothing. It's like a very small room, there's no enemies. Like, come on. I thought it would be much bigger and have, you know, something to scare me down there, but it wasn't. But just that intro, man, and it happened many times like that, with scary things throughout the game. You're walking in a lit place, and you turn a corner to a dark place, and just how the light gets absorbed, like the light literally gets eaten by the darkness. Ooh, man, I love it. Okay. So, yeah, graphics 8.5 or 9, and locations 9.5 or 10. So, we're looking at probably roughly a 9 out of 10 when it comes to the environments for me. Like, near perfection, man. The locations are, I'm struggling to think, man, what else I would have wanted. Maybe a lab section, because of course they always have that, but they didn't really have, they had the machine section in the factory, but I would have loved to have like a really hardcore, you know, Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2 type lab, where, you know, it's just very scientific and, you know, shiny and stuff. I think that would have looked great in this game, even if it was just a little bit. But still, for me, like I said, 9.5 to 10. So we're gonna round it to a 9, considering that some of the graphics, the textures were just god awful with the old school textures, holding them back. But 9 out of 10, still superb, absolutely fantastic, game of the year quality, worth your time entirely. Especially if you have PC. If you have PC, you turn all this stuff up to the max, go for it. Yeah. God, I can only imagine playing this 4K HDR. Ray tracing, 120 frames like you guys. Oof, I'm jealous. One day I'll have the money. One day soon. Okay, moving right along. We have the sound and music, which is also known as the audio. And, I mean, these are probably the two biggest strengths of this game, right? It's the environments you go to, the graphics, the way it looks, and the audio and sound design. In many ways, guys, this is the greatest sounding video game I've ever played. I use 3D audio on the PS5 with the Sony Pulse 3D headset. One thing that comes to mind immediately is the final boss. Like, when she is flying, when she turns into a Valkyrie, right? When she turns into that crow type creature and is flying around, she hovers above you. You can hear it. Like, it is one of the first moments in my life where I could hear something in a video game go above me. You guys gotta understand, never in video games has that been done before. And that blew my mind. I learned that back in the, I want to say it was the Xbox 360 era. Either that or the early Xbox One era. I learned no video game has ever done 3D audio where you actually hear sounds above and below you. Like, what? I remember I figured it out playing Halo one day. I was just like, I hear the guy. It sounds like he's right next to me. And I look, and there's no one there. And then come to find out, he's below me or above me. And it's like, why does it sound like he's right next to me? No video game fucking coded this shit in, man. It's laziness, bro. It pisses me off. Like, so important. Audio is so important. Thank God Sony is leaning into it. Sony makes their own headset for PS5. It's awesome. Microsoft and Nintendo need to catch up with their audio. Neither one of them have a true dedicated headset for their consoles. Not that I know of. There's no Nintendo Switch headset with 3D audio. No Xbox brand headset with 3D audio. No, but Sony has them. Sony puts care and quality into their audio, man. I love Sony. I've learned to love them more and more. I used to be such a huge Xbox fan, but anyway, I still love Halo more than life, but they've been fucking it up big time. I'm scared for Halo Infinite, by the way. Lots of videos on my channel about that. So, yeah, the audio, man, oh my god. Everything. The reloading of shotguns, the opening of doors, the sounds of the heels of Lady Dimitrescu, Alcina, walking in the castle hall and the main hall, in the corridors, the echo of her heels on the floor, the marble floor, the sound of the music, the piano, especially in that one room where Ethan plays the piano. I mean, the enemy growls and grunts, the attack animations, or the attack sounds, everything. The audio is superb. The echo, bro, the echo in this game. Specifically when you're talking to the Duke in Heizenburg's factory. I have a short video on that. Like, unbelievable. It literally sounds like you are in this cave with this man. The way it echoes through your ears, it trails off, goes from loud to low into quiet. And you can literally feel the distance of the voice propagating throughout the environment and leaving your vicinity and disappearing. Like, it is near impeccable audio design. Once again, up there with the best I've ever heard. Like Last of Us, Last of Us Part 2. Death Stranding had great audio design as well. Oof. Man, so yeah, I don't know. The sound, near 10 out of 10. 9.5 for me. Just so good. I keep it back from a 10 because some of the weapon sounds are not as punchy and reverberating as they should be, like the shotgun. All of them, really. The shotgun, sniper, everything. They needed to be more punchy and reverberate more and propagate throughout the environment more. Sound different depending on where you are in what location you're in. And maybe they did, but I didn't notice it that much, which is not a good thing, right? It should be very noticeable. Like when you're in a close quarters, that shotgun should ring out in your ears, an echo, versus being out in the open. It should be loud immediately and then dissipate quickly. So yeah, I didn't notice that stuff, and like I said, there was a lot of reuse sounds too. Yeah. So that's why this gets held back. I'm thinking about it now. Lots of reuse sounds, like the death sounds that Ethan makes, the audios, voices he uses, sounds of doors and items, like lots and lots of reuse sounds. So we might actually have to go down to a 9 for the sound because of that. I forgot. Yeah. Okay, and then the music. Here's the thing about the music, you guys, and it's very upsetting to me. The music is good, but there's not enough of it. Like, most of the game is just pure silence. And specifically, the two biggest crimes that they committed in this game with music, this really holds the score down for me, is they only have safe room music in one room in the entire fucking game. What? So to me, there's only one real safe room in the game, and it's the one in the castle, right? Obviously. It's like, are you kidding me? The music is so good, and they don't play it in any other room. They had many chances, too. The church is the one that comes to mind, right in the middle of the village. Don't know why. Don't know why they chose not to play it. Unbelievable to me. So, that's one thing, crime with the sound. And two, the third crime is obviously not playing enough music. But the second one is no music in the main hall of the castle. Or any of the houses having their own theme. Each house should have had their own theme. The main hall should have had its own theme. Alcina should have had its own theme. Each daughter herself should have had her own theme. Like, there should have been so much variety in the music. And there just wasn't. There's a few standouts that I have that I love. Like, the things that I love in this game, the music that I love, I adore. It's some of the best in the series. Of course, I love the safe room music. Thank God they nailed it. They nailed it on the safe room music. I love it. I am infatuated with that sound. Unfortunately, it's only in one room in the game, so it's hard to really attach nostalgia. It's hard to attach memories and neurons and have memory consolidation occur in any significant way because it's only in one room in the game. It's like, man, you missed opportunity with that. Should have put that safe room music all over. And then the best one maybe in the whole game is Remember for me. The song is called Remember. It happens with Ethan when he's talking to Evelyn, when he's hallucinating, figuring out, all the crazy story beats that's occurred with him. That was the moment for me, you guys, where it hit that Resident Evil 7 level, where Resident Evil 7 had the most heartbreaking moment to me, like almost in the series, where Jack sits Ethan down during that hallucination and explains to him that his family's not evil. They were taken over by the mole, taken over by Evelyn, and they were acting completely against their will. I was waiting for that moment the whole game, that tear-jerking moment, because that was a moment in Resident Evil 7 for me. I think that brought me to tears. And I was waiting for it in 8, and it just never came. It just never came until the closest thing was that moment for me when Ethan was in that dream sequence with Evelyn and this music played and she's explaining to him that he was dead this whole time, and and how Ethan's just fighting it. God, the tragedy of Ethan Winters, man. I hope they don't do him like that, Capcom. Like, he truly deserves to come back in 9, even if it's in the same way that he just has to control a body, whatever, that's fine, but I want Ethan to come back, man. Like, come on. He's so good. Such a great character. So, yeah, and the music, you remember Descent into the Village, which is the trailer music. Another great track. Gets me pumped up, makes me want to fight, right? Makes me want to kill. I love the Duke's menu music. When you're in there, the Duke's Emporium. The Moment of Respite 2, by the way, which is where you're in the middle of the village and you find the Duke right there, which technically is another type of safe room. I really like that little area. That little circular area with the different doors leading in all directions. Very nice, very nice. And then otherwise, the final boss fight music too. Oh my god. The final boss fight is called, the music's called Eradicating Evil. Holy shit, you guys. Holy shit, and we will get into that boss fight. Best boss fight in Resident Evil history, and one of the best bosses that I've ever fought in my life. Queen of the Valkyries is number 1 from God of War, by the way, on Give Me God of War difficulty. That is the best boss I've ever fought. But this one, up there. Maybe top 10. I gotta make a list of top bosses, man. Oof. Probably in the top 10, if not top 20. Great boss. So there's some Kingdom Hearts 3 bosses that are up there too. Some really fun Kingdom Hearts bosses. There's a lot of great bosses out there. Bloodborne. I could go into it. Neo too. Okay. So yeah, there just wasn't enough music for me, and the rest of the soundtrack, forgettable. But there was, like I said, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. About 6, songs that really stood out. Maybe 7, if I'm forgetting something. So not bad. You know, those songs, like I said, those songs that are good are incredible. It's just the rest of the soundtrack is just okay for me. So, honestly, it's a good soundtrack, probably 8 out of 10. I'm going to go with an 8 out of 10. So when you take the soundtrack of 8, you take the 9 for the sound design and the audio design, that puts you at 8.5 for me. 8.5 in the audio. Still very, very good. Yeah, just wonderful, wonderful at certain moments. Oh my god. Okay, so this leads us to the gameplay. The gameplay, which unfortunately is, in my opinion, the weakest of these categories. You know, in some ways it feels tighter than 7 and more responsive than 7, but in many ways, at least playing on Village of Shadows difficulty, the hardest difficulty, my bullets did not feel like they did anything. I didn't feel a punch, I didn't feel a kick. You know, it wasn't visceral combat like Resident Evil should be, in my opinion. There were some satisfying moments. Like I said, this game is very inconsistent with a lot of things, and the combat is one of them. There are some incredibly satisfying and grotesque moments with the combat that I adored. Like when you finally, if you do get a headshot that explodes the enemy's head, it is very satisfying. But in general, man, the way they fall down, the way they interact with objects, they clip through things, like, it just doesn't do it for me. The death animations are all the same. The enemy animations are reused to the gills. Like, this is actually, yeah, okay. The gameplay, this is where I'm gonna put the criticisms and how they could have done better. So this is gonna be like a big critique part, I guess, of the video. See, the thing is about horror, you guys, is that tiny details matter so much. Like, immersion is more important, in my opinion, in horror games and scary games than any other type of game, because you need to be totally immersed in what you're doing and in the environment. Otherwise, you're not going to be afraid. And you need to be afraid when you play a scary game. That's the whole point, is to have fear, right? Otherwise, like, what are you doing there? You might as well play Fortnite or some happy game, right? So, for horror, the goal is to be afraid. In order to be afraid, the game needs to be as beautiful and as immersive as possible. And unfortunately, there's so many things that take you out of that immersion in this game, in this experience of Resident Evil 8, within the gameplay. And that's what hurts me. But I have, solutions. I have the answer to these, right? They just have to be coded in. So, and another thing about horror is, like, you're supposed to go really slow through the world, right? You're supposed to really work your way through slowly. And that doesn't lend itself well to having pop-in, to textures, missing, bad animations, clipping. That does not lend itself well. Having, trees and foliage that are literally looking like Xbox 360 graphics, like, that doesn't work. That takes the player out of the experience. Having the floating icons all over the gates and the items, like those things, I think it was a terrible design decision. Like, Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil 1 did it near flawlessly, in my opinion. When you are near an item, nothing shows up over the item. I think 0 did it the best. Like, nothing shows up over the item. There's no button that says, hey, pick up A, to pick up this herb. No. The herb is in the room, and it has a tiny, slight shine or sheen to it. It glistens just for a split second, very subtly. You can barely see it, but it does. And it blends into the environment, and it looks perfect. It looks, to me, it's like the best way you can do item pickups. I'm sure there's another way. Well, I'll have to figure it out as I grow and come up with other things. Maybe have a subtle shift in the color. Maybe the tone of the color of the item will stand out and don't have it shine at all. For the player, there's a way to do that. I don't know. But having a shimmer and shine and glisten just for a little bit, like Resident Evil 0, if you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know, look up 0 and 1. Just look up any gameplay and just look at the items. Nothing shows up over them. They just glisten. They just shine a little bit. And that's actually something that screwed me over in this game, you guys. It was terrible in one regard, which will hold down the score for me, because people talk about accessibility. If people want to play with everything on the HUD, they should have that accessibility, right? But if someone's like me out there that wants to play with everything off, there should be accessible things, like having that glisten show up, because I had to play this whole game, guys, with nothing. So when I went to a room, I couldn't see any items, nothing glistened, nothing was showing up, no buttons were telling me what to pick up. So what did I have to do? I had to walk around pretty much the whole damn game pressing X, the button, the pickup button, to try to pick up items that were hopefully there that I couldn't see, that didn't stand out from the environment. You see what I'm saying? Some of them did, obviously, and I found those right away. But the more hidden items, the more hidden objects, weapons and stuff. Like, I missed the shotgun, you guys. I missed the second shotgun for hours. I missed it for like 10 hours. Who knows how long I missed it for? I ran past it. I completely missed it. I forget where it is, but now. But yeah, you know? So, I mean, that's cool. I like that you can miss it, but still, there should be something, some kind of glisten, some kind of little hint or way to let the player know that there's an item near the vicinity that's interactable. Because otherwise, I'm just walking around the outside of each room, pressing X on everything, you know, just hoping I pick up something that I can't see. And that's no fun. That's no fun for anybody. So, yeah. Really wish, I hope they do that for 9, or even put a patch in here for 8, because I don't want to turn the HUD on and have to see all those floating icons, and they shouldn't be there to begin with. It should be glowing, shimmering, to let the player know this is what you want to interact with. It sucks because this own franchise has done it so much better, and 7 did it like this too. I hate it. Not good. Takes you out of the experience. The music cuts out when you're in the menus. Like when you're in the safe room, I'm there with the merchant, I go into my menu, boom, it just cuts out and it's silent. It's like, no, that makes me not want to spend any time in my menu, in my switching things around and organizing. Music should persist throughout the whole game, throughout the menus, and I wish the menus were real time, by the way. There should be settings, guys. There should be all these accessibility settings to make the game easier or harder. I wanted the menu to be real time, like in 7, when you're trying to combine herbs and you're looking at stuff, it's real time, man, so you can still get attacked, you can still get hit. And in 8, no, it pauses everything, so it's like a pause menu. You press your menu button, and the enemies freeze, the world freezes, and you have all the time in the world to hang out and to plan. I do not like that. I like the pressure of 7, where you have to think on your feet, and you're terrified because you're going to get killed. I love it. I want to say 2, I hope 2 did it. I don't remember if 2 and 3 were real-time. I don't think 3 was, but 2 might have been real-time as well. I think 7 was, though, and that's what I want. I want real-time menus. Do not pause the game just because I'm in the menu. The Duke's music was too low, by the way, when you're talking to him. I think his music was too low. It should have been louder when you're upgrading your guns. And no safe room music. The music should have been in everything. Let me just talk about that for a second. Like, what the heck? Like, Capcom, thank God, I have to be happy, because I was scared that they wouldn't put it in the game at all, you guys. I was scared safe rooms wouldn't be in the game. I was afraid they wouldn't even have safe room music, but at least they did. They technically kind of had 2, but really only 1 safe room music and only 1 safe room in the whole game. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. I don't know who thought, oh, let's just have 1 safe room in the whole entire game of a horror game. And the safe rooms are what we're known for, but let's do the opposite. No. You should have safe rooms. Like, there's so many things that could have been a safe room in this game. Just put that music in there, and it would have made it so much better. But no, it's just silence. It's like, come on, man. Like, where was the music in this game? Where was the safe room music in all the different rooms? And I've explained, you go look at my playlist, you guys. I have a whole playlist just on safe rooms themselves. The safe rooms in Resident Evil are my favorite part of the entire series. You understand me? More than the fighting, more than the monsters, more than the story, more than the music, everything. It is the safe rooms. However, it's the safe room music, by the way, which is my favorite part of the music, so that is part of it. It's the music, the room, the location, the feeling you get, because it's just the opposite of what Resident Evil is. Resident Evil is all horror, terror, despair, fear, uneasiness, haunting vibes, unsettling atmospheres. But then when you come to a safe room, it's just like the most beautiful, calming feeling. It is the opposite of all of that, and you just want to spend time in there. You want to breathe, you want to regroup, and then get back at it. It is just like, oh, my favorite part of the whole series are safe rooms, and they dropped the ball big time on this one. They had the one, which obviously is my favorite safe room in the game. Loved it, right, with the merchant. Amazing. But that's it. They only had one. Come on. So yeah, let the music play during menus. Hit detection, as I was saying, you know, you're shooting enemies, they don't react to your bullets, like the bullets aren't peeling off chunks of flesh and clothing as they should. RE2 did the best hit detection in the whole series. Hands down, RE2 had the best hit detection, the remake, in the whole series. Like, you shoot someone's arm with a shotgun, their arm goes flying off, and the arm's on the ground, and blood is pouring out, and they start shambling towards you. Like, you shoot their leg off, they fall to the ground, and it's spewing blood. That is what we need. That is what we need with our hit detection. And you can tell, once again, I think I was trying to say, there's so many reused animations, man. Like, Lady Dimitrescu, she is literally like Mr. X. You can see, you watch her, the way she moves. It is the same mesh, the same wireframe. I can see it. The way she turns her head, everything about her is like the same as Mr. X. So once again, that takes away from the fear. Like, she doesn't have any bespoke animations. She should have been much more flowy, man, the way she moves. But no, she's very rigid. She's very rigid the way she walks. She's like Mr. X. So that shows they cut corners, man, with their animations. The zombies, you guys, I don't know if you noticed this, the ones with the axes that are in like the courtyard of the castle and underground, the way they move almost identical to each other. Not only that, which takes me out of the immersion, but they move just like the RE2 zombies in 3, like the way they shamble around, the way they like take a couple steps and then like regroup. It's just they slowed down and sped up the animations kind of to make us think that they were bespoke and different, but they're not. So like I said, there's a lot of this reuse stuff, man, this inconsistency in this game that holds it down. And that also draws you out of the immersion, you know, it draws the player out, and it ruins the experience for those that have a keen eye that notice it, which I do, because I'm in love with the franchise. I love the franchise, so I want it to be the best that it can be. There should have been all unique animations, man, the way all the enemies move. You should have had them all different people come in and just mocap real quick, just shamble around as zombies and use them, scatter them out throughout the whole game. You know, there should have been almost very few repeating animations in games. And I hold everybody to a high standard. I know this, but I just expect the best. I want the best out of people. And I know you can do better because I've seen it. I've seen you do better. You see what I'm saying? So, I don't think I'm asking for too much. I know this is possible. You take another 6 months, another year on the game, and all this could have been taken care of. So yeah, the hit detection, you know, when you shoot a zombie, sometimes like they don't react to your bullet. You shoot them in the arm, and like with a pistol, they don't like lean over and grab their arm with their hand like, ow. No, they just kind of like shamble towards you, like they fall towards you, which is not the way you would fall if you got shot from the front. You would lean backwards, you know. With shotguns, I'll shoot a zombie point blank with a shotgun. He won't go flying away from me. Like, it's so unrealistic, man. Like, talk about realism and immersion. If you're anywhere near a shotgun, close to it, and you get shot, even if you're a boss, you should get kicked back, you know, a little bit. Boom. Boom, like that. Even if it's like Alcina's like head, if you shoot her in the head, she just stares at you, nothing happens to her. Like, and I haven't done it, I've just seen it. But, yeah, like when she's walking around the castle, I didn't touch her. Only when she turned into the creature. But, like, it should be bam, like her head should go like that, you know, and then rebound back, reset, you know. Shoot her in the arm, she should turn like this, like her body should turn, you know, like, oof. But no. The characters barely react to it, but then sometimes they do. Sometimes an enemy will get up to your shotgun, you'll pull the trigger, and they'll go flying back, and it's beautiful. And it's beautiful. I remember one time in the very beginning, I shot this guy with my shotgun right in the head. It was at that horror part in the very beginning. It took me like 6 hours to beat. He goes flying off the cabin that we're on. Like, it was just a beautiful sight. Like, I think his head exploded, and he just went flying off into the snow below, and it was great. It was very visceral. It felt awesome. It's inconsistent, because then other times, like, I'll be getting grabbed by an enemy and kick him on the ledge, on an edge, and he won't fall off. He'll just, like, back up into an invisible wall, you know, and he won't fall off. No, he should fall back, stumble, try to grab onto the ledge, and fall. Like, there should be so many bespoke animations that they've really dropped the ball on here, in my opinion. You know, there's clipping everywhere, like when enemies fall down, you know, they just fall into objects and they disappear through objects, clipping all over the place with clothing and stuff. It's just a lot of clipping, and I hate that. And that's one thing that Unreal Engine 5 looks to be eliminating to a large degree, like the demos we've seen. I don't see any clipping in those demos, so I'm like, oh my god, please, like Capcom, either use Unreal Engine 5, drop RE engine, use Unreal 5, or upgrade RE to be like Unreal Engine 5, because holy shit. Clipping needs to go. Talk about immersion. The foliage was really bad, you guys, in this game. Like when you look at branches and flowers up close, really not good, unfortunately. Just got to put more time into that, man. Make them pop out. Best foliage I think I've ever seen is Last of Us Part 2, dude. Like the grass and everything in that. Oof. Horizon Forbidden West looks great as well. Man. So yeah, the foliage needs some work. The sisters inside the castle, they had no unique attacks. You know, they all fought the same way. They fought the exact same way. They bitch you the same way. They should have all fought in different ways, in different speeds, you know, with different canters, different movements of their body. All of it should have been unique, but it wasn't. Death animations, everything, like I said, reused from 7. Sounds of Death and Dying, reused from 7. Like, you can't do that stuff, man. It draws the player out of the experience, and it just shows that you're lazy and you're cutting corners. Unacceptable, in my opinion, these types of things. Yeah, death animations, yep, reuse sounds. When you open drawers and stuff, like in the very beginning of the game, he opens one drawer the way it should be opened, with both his hands. He takes his time. And then the rest of the game, drawers just open themselves, doors just open themselves. Like, no, his hand should press up against the door, you know, and slowly move it. He should twist the door handle slowly. Like, this shit should be in the game. And you should have every option to turn it off. Turn off those, you can call them fine-tune animations. Turn those off if you don't like them, you know, because they take extra time. And that's what I would want. When you open keys, doors with keys, the key just floats in front of you. It just sits there and floats and turns itself. Like, no. Have Ethan have to reach into his pocket, pull it out, put it in, and turn it. Like, that is the tension. That is the whole thing, you guys. Don't you get it with horror and fear? Like, how many horror movies have you seen? Have you seen someone's running away from the bad guy? They have a key to the car, a key to the house, and they're fumbling with it and they can't get it open. That is what we want. Obviously, the characters in the game, we wouldn't want that where they drop it, maybe in a cutscene or something, or maybe 1 or 2 times throughout the game. But in general, you should have the animation. Have them reach into their pocket, pull the key out, pull the lever out, whatever, put it in, twist it, you know? That's how it should be, man. It should be a whole thing with the option to turn it off. Like I said, you should be able to turn it off if you don't want to sit there and have to deal with all that stuff. Just like I believe, like, you should be able to skip the intro of the game for speedrunners, for those that just want to speed through it and get to the stuff. They should have the option to skip the beginning of games. Like, there should be so many options for players. Once again, for the hardcore like me, I don't want that yellow tape, you guys. There's yellow tape in 7 and 8. It's paint, really, in 8, but it was tape in 7. It's all yellow. It points you in the right direction. It always tells you where to go. It tells you what objects are interactable, you know, and what can be blown up and stuff. I don't want that. I want the option to turn that shit off. I don't want to know, oh, I see a rope of yellow coming down here. Like, it's literally like a yellow brick road. Follow me, leading me to the water where the fish are. Like, don't do that. I want that turned off for the hardest difficulties. All the hints. Take out all the hints. You know, they have these in the bell room, in the bell puzzle, they just have it right in the middle of the room. There's a thing. It's like, ring the 5 bells. Like, no, don't tell me that. Let me figure it out. Let me explore the room, see that the bells look different than everything else. And then I interacted with one. I remember I hit one with my knife. I figured that part out on my own. And it lights. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. You know, you lighting these bells on fire. And then I looked around for more. Like, let the player progression be natural and the exploration be natural if they want it to be. There's so much hand-holding in this game, you guys, where they just have the answer to the puzzle right there on the wall. Literally right next to the puzzle, they have the answer on the wall. Like with the fire puzzle, near the beginning, it says like, follow the light, use the light to light your way. And it's like, oh, well, you just gotta take this light and light up these 2 lamps right here. Like, come on, man. They're treating us like babies. Take that shit off. I don't want the puzzle. I don't want any hints, nothing. No notes, no yellow tape pointing me in the right direction. Take it all off. The only thing that should be there that's guiding the player in any way, in my opinion, like I said, should be subtle shimmers or a different coloration of an interactable object. That's it. It's the only thing that should be there. Otherwise, I want complete immersion. Don't give me any yellow brick roads. Don't give me any notes with hints. The only notes I should find should be story related. It should be about the characters. Not about how to solve a damn puzzle. Not about a boss's weak point. Man, it's like, come on. You want to treat the lower skilled players, you know, you want to make it accessible for them. That's great. What about us? What about the higher skilled players? the guys that want the most brutal, grueling experience. What about us? Please include us. Are we not important as well? You know, we are part of the demographic. We are part of the fan base. So let us customize the game and the difficulty to the utmost degree. And for me, like I said, I would turn everything up to 11. Give me the hardest AI, the most reactive AI, the most damage they can do, the most damage I can take. Everything. The littlest amount of bullets that you can put on the map and still have a player survive and make it tough, man. Take off that yellow brick road shit so I have to figure it out on my own. Yeah. Next generation, man. Another critique is like, a lot of this could have been solved. It's the publishers, right? They want as much money as possible, so they put the damn thing on. I think it's 9 consoles. PlayStation 4, Pro, PlayStation 5. There's 3. Xbox One, Xbox One S, Xbox One X, Xbox Series S, Xbox Series X, PC, and Stadia. So 10 freaking consoles. Unbelievable. Should have been on half of that, 5, right? Should have been on the new Xboxes, PlayStation, and PC. What was that, 4? That's it. PlayStation 5, PC, and the 2 Xboxes. 4. Should have been on 4 consoles. That's it. Instead of, they over doubled it. 10. They did 10. So that's where a lot of things get lost, you know? Story beats that should have been there, locations that should have been there, plot threads, animation, sounds, music. Yeah, it all gets lost because they add that extra development time, that extra resource and manpower to the old gens and to, like I said, over double the amount of consoles that should have been developed for. Like, unbelievable, man. No, should have been 4. Completely next gen. And I'm really not liking this trend that's going on with all these companies making these cross-gen games, man. But I understand it. I get it. Because of the chip shortage, people can't get a hold of the next-gen consoles. So it makes sense, not only business-wise, but it makes sense consumer-wise to have them on last-gen so everybody can get the game in the hands of as many players as possible. You know what I mean? I get it. I understand. I see where they're going with it. It's just like, man, I just want the true next-gen experience. I mean, I don't even have an Xbox. I can't find one. I have a PlayStation 5, but I can't find the Xbox. I want it, but I would prefer, even if I didn't, put the games on next-gen only. Like Ratchet & Clank apparently just came out, guys. Blowing people's minds. 9 out of 10 apparently. Blowing people's minds. Gonna be Game of the Year quality. Yeah. Which I already predicted, by the way, in my other videos. Which Resident Evil 8 will also be. So yeah, you know, let's see what else we got. Reuse of words and writing. This is a trope that happens in a lot of games. I can't think of an example, but like I don't like it when you say a phrase, when a character's saying a phrase, and then they repeat a word or a noun in the next phrase immediately after. So I think Heizenburg says something like, you know, I have a great idea, and then the next sentence he says, isn't that a wonderful idea? I think the idea word should have been like, I have a great hypothesis, and then don't you think that's a wonderful idea? Like, you should use the same, you can have the same message, but use different words to get it across. I don't like when I hear the same word or noun or phrase repeated in a very short period of time. It's hard to explain. I'll note it next time I play the game on my stream, whenever the heck that is, but I'll note it when I hear it. So yeah, that's just something that a lot of movies and games do. I don't like it, and I notice it a lot. I try to stay away from repeating the same words right next to one another, very close to one another. Yeah, I said the castle should have been last, you know, like, that's, they really blew their load too quickly on that one, man. The castle should have been last, bro. God, it should have been last. Should have led up to that. If they wanted, they could have teased us, right? We could have gone in near the beginning, we explored just a little bit, Alcina finds us, the daughters find us. They literally chuck us out of a window, throw us out of the castle. We land in the snow by the merchant, and, you know, then we can't find our way back in for 10 plus more hours, right? That would have just been, till near the end of the game. Because we would have been dying for it the whole time, like, teasing us, like, oh, please let us in. Oh, we want to see you. Like, it would have been great, man. So, yeah, messed up on the pacing with that. Carlos being Chris, unfortunate. Reusing voices, I talked about, you know, Marguerite being in there with no story ties to RE7, so it just throws you out of the immersion, man, when you hear these same voices. Jill Valentine played, you know, Elena, apparently, from RE3. Jill, just like, all these people, man, that played multiple people. It's just, it throws me out of the experience because I hear these voices and it's like, that sounds familiar. Especially, like I said, Marguerite and Carlos. That's just like, God, that's just so, it sounds just like them. Like, Marguerite sounds like the calm Marguerite from the Daughters DLC, just a beautiful Marguerite from 7. And that's how she sounds as Luisa. And then Carlos literally just sounds like Carlos. It's just a little more serious when he's playing Chris. That's it. So that just, it throws me out, man. I mean, I don't know how it doesn't throw anyone else out. It's because these games came before. It's like, no, you can't do that. You can't. Oh no, the puzzles, man. Don't. Okay, there were puzzles in this game, and I'm happy they were there. But once again, too easy, man. Lots of the solutions right there. The funnest one, the coolest one that comes off the top of my head was the way they did that one number puzzle. Where I like the statue puzzle too, moving the statues, that was good, but the number puzzle was great as well. And House Beneviento, like that whole experience was like a puzzle. PT, oh god, loved it, adored it. I love that, like I said, the statue puzzle and the PT puzzle was great. But overall, like, they were just too easy, man. They were just too easy. In the very beginning, opening up the statue, or opening up the castle gates, like, you just gotta find 2 little circles to plug them in, and the circles are so close to one another. Like, they're right next to one another. One's in the church, and one's, like, right up the little street in the farmhouse. Like, it's right there. It's like, man, come on. Come on. It's just too easy. The puzzles were just too easy. I like the labyrinth puzzles with the ball. That was cool. You know, you just do the little ball thing. I really enjoyed that. I kind of wish that they all lit up. The one lit up. And I missed one. I missed one, if not 2 of them. I missed one, if not 2 of those ball puzzles. Definitely one, for sure. I'm positive I missed one. So yeah. You know, the puzzles, I wish there were more of them. I wish they were more difficult. But yeah, the one I really loved was the number puzzle where you gotta like look out the window and you're looking out the window and you see like the numbers there and you gotta put them in. I thought that was really clever the way they did that with the numbers. Yeah, there were some clever puzzles, some good ones, but not as difficult and not as numerous as I wanted, you know. I'm trying to think of the game with the best puzzles, man. 0, 1, it's probably those for me. 0, 1, maybe 2 Remake had some decent ones. 4 had some okay ones, not really. Yeah, 7 had some okay. It's mostly 0 and 1 for me. Had the best puzzles in the series. I gotta rank those 2, you know, the puzzles. And I think 0 had my favorite puzzle maybe ever. Like, I love the statue puzzle in 0. Oh my god. Oh my god. Lighting the statues. Another critique, man, more gore, you know? It's like, not enough blood, not enough gore, not enough grotesque horror, not enough enemy variety in the sense that, like, you know, there wasn't too much disturbing stuff. There is some, but there wasn't enough for me, man. And I think that stems from most of the enemies being bipedal. When you really think about it, most of the enemies are like humanoid enemies. Even some of the mini-bosses are humanoid. They just have 2 feet, they look like they were humans, you know, a little bit messed up. Where are the spiders? Having spiders in this type of thing? Slugs, snakes, ugh, like the creatures of the night, bats. There could have been so much done. Dark, shadowy creatures they could have done. Like, in this engine, you can make creatures just look grotesque and horrifying, but most of them are just bipedal. They're running on 2 feet, and that takes a lot of the fear out of it, because it's familiar. It's familiar to humans, right? We're used to kind of seeing that. But Resident Evil, like 0, 1, 2, 3, even 4, these creatures that you experience, man, that you fight are just so unsettling. It's great. 6 had some pretty cool enemy designs as well. But yeah, a lot of bipedal enemies, not good, man. You gotta have the spiders. Imagine them crawling around the trees and stuff like that. Oh, it could be so much. Yeah. So that's my critique. You gotta have more enemy variety, more grotesque stuff, more blood, more reaction to the bullets. And guys, you gotta understand, like, I'm critiquing the game because I love it. I'm critiquing the franchise because I love it. I want to see it grow. I want to see it be the best it can be. This is all coming from a place of love and passion. Don't you understand? Don't take this in a negative way. This is positive. I'm telling you what's wrong, and I'm telling you how to fix it. How to make it the best ever that anyone's ever seen. So this is all coming from a place of love, man. So yeah, better collision physics would be nice, you know, with objects, and just being able to move around in the environment, more collision physics, having Ethan put his hands up on walls like Joel does on The Last of Us, put his hands up on the walls he's walking past. It's just these little tiny touches, these little details draw you into the world, draw you into the game. You know, and I dream of video games when everything remains. Like, instead of the bodies just disappearing and degrading right in front of you and soaking into the ground. They did do it in a great way, like how it just kind of dematerializes. They did do it and they turn it into dust. That is great. However, I would appreciate everybody to stay. Every bullet hole, like a lot of times bullet holes don't even show up on the walls. Every bullet hole should show up and stay there the whole game. Like, every knife slice that you do, you put a knife slice on a door and you go play the game and come back, that same little indent on the door should be there when you come back. You step in the snow footprint should be there and remain, you know, and then eventually get covered up, of course, if it is snowing. But if it's not snowing, it should stay there, and then the snow melts. You see the footprints in the mud. Everything should persist. I want a persistent world where everything remains. You drop an item on the ground, you should be able to drop items, they don't allow you to. If you dropped an item on the ground, it should remain there the whole game until you come back for it. And if it does, it could even be moved. If enemies came through that area and you had a health pack on the ground or an herb, they could step on it. They could move it to the side. It could still remain, but it could be moved just slightly and changed a little bit. The amount of immersion that I want in my games, guys, is real life. I want real life, you know? And I won't stop until we're past that, actually. I won't even be satisfied with real life, you understand? I want to go past that. I don't know what the term will be called. I haven't come up with the term. It's like, you know, like super fantasy or something. Past reality, where I want it to be video games as good as real life, but then better. I want it to look like real life, but then have magic and stuff layered on top. Have those creatures and stuff appear. So it literally looks like these creatures are real. So it literally looks like this blood and shit is real all over the place. That's what I want. I want to go past real life. That is where I want to be with games and entertainment. Like hyper-realism. Hyper-realism, I guess, is the word that comes to mind. An accurate phrase. I want hyper-realistic graphics. Past realism. Make it look so real, and then put monsters and things that cannot exist in this world or do not exist that we know of. You know, put that in. Just hyper-realism. Oh my god. Gore. Give it to us. You shoot an enemy's hand, the hand should come off. You shoot the arm should come off. Like, it should be levels of dismemberment. You understand? And they should react differently accordingly. You shoot him in the head with a shotgun. 9 out of 10 enemies, most enemies should get blown to smithereens. Like an eye, you shoot imagine a spider, you shoot at one of the eyes, just goes exploding, you know, and then it can't see very well. And then it's tripping on its own blood. It can't really walk very well. You know, it's stumbling around while it's trying to attack you. Like, the amount of detail and immersion that Resident Evil is capable of, that all games are capable of. I won't stop until you guys reach it and go past my expectations. Past my expectations. Because I know you can do it. You guys are so talented. You're so fucking talented. And I won't stop till I bring all that talent out of you and more. I know you can do it. I want every bullet to stay. Okay, man, we got a lot more stuff to talk about, unfortunately. So it looks like I'm going to pause the video here, stop the recording, save this one. This is the next hour, the next leg. And I'm guessing it's looking like it's going to be a 3-hour video, guys. Looks like we're going for another hour. Just strap in for 1 more hour. And that should be it, though. It should be 1 more hour. Okay. Take care, guys. See you soon. Hopefully for you, it'll be in the next, like, 10 seconds. But, yeah, I got to stop. Whew. Resident Evil, man. I just love it. I got a lot to say. I love it. Oh, crap. My mic was muted. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so continuing on. Treasure. I wanted to talk about treasure. In Resident Evil 4, I think treasure was done exceptionally well. I think it was the best version of treasure and treasure hunting that exists in any Resident Evil game, ever. Because you would find things, and then you would combine them. You would find other things, like you would find jewels, and then you would find a crown. And in some cases, you could combine the jewel into the crown, and the crown might have 3 slots, and then you would have to fill out all 3 slots with different colored jewels. It was just so in-depth, man. And there were many different kinds of crowns and different necklaces and things like that, and just cups and chalices. Like the beautiful, beautiful treasure that Resident Evil 8 has very little of. very little. It still has combinable stuff and it still has treasure. It's like a more basic, I don't want to say dumbed down, but it's just some more shallow type of experience than Resident Evil 4's treasure, which I adored, and I hope they don't mess it up when the remake comes around eventually, which I believe will come 22 or 2023 personally. Resident Evil 4 remake. But man, the treasure, like, at least they had it. I'm happy they had it. You could shoot it off the ceiling, shoot it off walls, like it was in things, it was in statues and stuff. So it was cool. I enjoyed it. The little gems were nice, but once again, the gems didn't have different designs. Like in Resident Evil 4, all the little gems had different shapes and different colors and stuff. These did have a few different colors, but for the most part, they were just kind of circular, gems, circular diamonds and rubies and stuff. They were beautiful, don't get me wrong, but just the shape of most of the treasure was very similar in this game. It wasn't as exotic as RE4's. So I hope they go more exotic in 9. And they can do it, man, in the houses. Imagine if they go into the houses in the neighborhood, like I keep saying. Imagine Resident Evil 9 in the houses. Different houses have different treasure. Your neighbors around you have different things that they cherish, right? And it would be all different designs. Who knows, It might be a plaque on one house, a trophy at another house, a diamond, jewels at one house, gold bars at another house. Like, they could do so many cool things, man. So many cool things with treasure in RE9. My mind just goes wild. So yeah, the more varied treasure would have been nice there. And I was thinking about the gun designs. Like, most of the gun designs, they don't do it for me at all. Like in most Resident Evil games, sadly. And most games in general. It's not just Resident Evil. It's not just a dig at them. It's just most guns are boring to me. Few stand out. Like, I love the broken butterfly from RE4. It might be my favorite weapon in the Resident Evil franchise. I'm not sure. I'd have to go through each game. But I just love it. I love unique weapons that you don't see very often. I love the flaming knife in RE3. That thing is pretty cool. The remake. Yeah. Or the, what is it called? The Tommy gun in RE4. I don't have it. The Chicago typewriter, that's what it is. It looks really cool. I've never had it, though. But yeah, so, more unique gun designs, like akin to the shotgun in this game and the, grenade launcher and the Magnum. I think those are the 3. Oh my god, the gun designs. Oof. Yes, like whoever designed those, yes, we need more of that. Lean into those designs, man. The shotgun in this game, the main shotgun, the first one you get. Oh, and the pistol, the Magnum design. Oh, with the gold and the black, the gold trim on the black. And the wolf's bane is what it's called. Oh my goodness gracious. Yes, lean more into that stuff, Capcom, and all developers. Go exotic, man. Everyone's seen a shotgun before. Everyone's seen a pistol before. Like, lean into these crazy designs. I'm telling you, it'll pay off. I'm playing through the next one I play through again. I'm playing with the shotgun, grenade launcher. Like, I'm staying with that shotgun no matter what. And I wanted a sniper. Like, there's only one sniper in the whole game as far as I know. Like, what's that about? Come on, man. So, we need a new sniper, and I wanted a sniper with that cool design, but it never showed up. Maybe it's in Mercenaries. I don't know. I gotta replay the game. I gotta play it. Not replay it. I've never played Mercenaries, but I gotta play that. I'll do that, like I said, next time I pick it up. But I'm done with Resident Evil for a while, man. I've been playing since October. Every single game, 0 to 8. I am pooped. I'm tired. Okay, anyway. Let's see. Yeah, the guns. I hope they lean more into the exotic gun designs in the future. So the item slots. Okay, so I liked how we could move everything around and stuff, but there should be item sets, so like presets. So if I want my shotgun shells to appear somewhere every time I pick up shotgun shells, I should be able to do that, right? If I want herbs to appear right in this slot, I should be able to preset them so that when I pick up something, herbs appear in that slot. You see what I'm saying? So I hope they add presets. That's something you could definitely patch in for a DLC, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I'm not sure how they haven't, because I know people like to set up their items in certain ways. Yeah, I figured out mine personally. I think near the end was I like to have most of my main weapons going down the left side of the briefcase, and then my power weapons starting on the top right going down. Like and when I say power weapons, I mean like literally the grenade launcher and the Magnum, the Wolf's Bane. Yeah, and it formed this really cool like Tetris type look. I'll try to get a picture of it. Maybe I can include it in here. I'll try to find one. We'll see if I can get it in. Probably not, but who knows. I liked it. Okay, so What else? Oh, here we go. The herbs, man. The herbs. Yeah. You can't inspect herbs in this game. Like, I'm gonna do a tier list of my favorite herbs in Resident Evil, but you can't even inspect them in this game, man. And there's only green. Like, where's the yellow and where's the red herbs? I don't think Resident Evil 7 had them either, so I shouldn't have expected it. But where's the red and the yellow herbs, man? You know, it makes me sad. I love the red and the yellow herbs, like RE4 had them all, because when you find an herb, it's like a different type of feeling for each color that you find, and the colors are just beautiful in their own right. So I think a true Resident Evil game for me has all three: green, red, and yellow. Please bring them back. Yeah, and just not enough animations, like I've been talking about with Ethan, with any of the characters. There should be many death animations, many stumbling animations, many attack animations. When Ethan gets bit, there's only like 2 animations of Ethan getting bit. There should be like 100, you know? And that's been something that's been going on with Resident Evil for a long time. I mean, I don't understand why not. Like, it's really not that hard to do. We see other companies have thousands of animations, but, you know, hopefully in the future. Hopefully. Please Capcom, just talk to the higher ups. Ask them, you know, like, just be upfront. Be like, listen, like, we have created the greatest and the best-selling horror franchise of all time, which is true. This is true. And ask them and be like, you know, I believe we deserve to take our time on our AAA products, on the numbered Resident Evil games. Now, if you want to put out side games like that stuff, that's fine. We can put those out and make the money with the microtransactions. But for the numbered franchises and the good spin-off games like Revelations 3, you should take your time with those games. And just ask for extra time. Whatever they tell you, ask for an extra 2 years. And then if they have to talk you down to an extra year. Get some extra time to develop these games, man, because it'll be better off for the franchise, better off for you, and better off for the fans in the long run. It'll be better off for everyone. It really will. And the art will be better. The games will be better that way. More time in the oven. Slow and steady, you know. So yeah, I can't inspect herbs. That blows my mind, man. How am I gonna do my favorite tier list of herbs from all the games without Resident Evil 8's? And they looked pretty. They looked beautiful. Like the one time when you picked it up in the very beginning in that little shack at your first enemy, it's like, yeah, okay. It had them little like pink flowers coming out of it or something. It looked good, but I couldn't inspect it. Man, come on. Ah, the cooking, yes. So like with the merchant, the Duke, I loved him. Have him cook, like, have him cook in front of you and then eat with you and have a little animation. It could be like a 5-minute sequence if you let it, and let the players skip it, obviously, if they don't want to. But I would sit there and hang out with him, you know? Just like, let us hang out in the world. Like, you should be able to sit down, you know, relax. I totally believe that. Like, there should be like a sit down button where you can just like pull out a chair, especially in a safe room, you know. Pretty much only in safe rooms and safe areas should you be allowed to do those special animations. I think it would add another layer of depth into the game, personally. It would add that extra comfort level to entice the player to come back, that homey feeling, that friendship feeling, you know, forming a connection with the merchant, as opposed to him just saying, here you go, and then you hear crunching noises, which are the same reused noises from RE7, you know? It's like, come on. They should have had him cook right in front of you, pull out a pot, just like Mia was doing. See, this is why I'm saying it's so inconsistent, because I know you guys can do it. I know you can. And just allow us to skip the animation if people don't want to wait. I would have sat down and waited for every single meal and let them hang out and talk. That would have been great. Imagine them sitting down, drinking wine, talking a little bit. Ethan just looking around at the snow and the trees and being like, what the heck is this place? You know, Duke, who are you? And him just talking while they're eating. Like, it could be so good. It could be 10 out of 10 shit. You know what I'm saying? Man. Oh, so much potential here. That's why I hate when I see art. Like, the beauty of the art. I see the core and the heart and the soul of what it is and what it could be. And I see it get tainted by greed, by the higher ups. It's like, no, you're so close to an absolute masterpiece, to an absolute legend. You're so close. You're knocking on the door. You have them sit down, cook, eat, right? And Ethan should be commenting more throughout the whole game. That's another thing. Like, the whole game, Ethan does not comment enough. He does more than 7. Granted, it's more. and I love him, but there should have been so much more comments, you know, like maybe 10 times more dialogue when he's just looking around, things like Last of Us 2, guys. I keep saying it, I know, but the first half of Last of Us 2, I hated the second half, I couldn't even play it, but the first half of that game is a masterpiece, 10 out of 10, the first half, when you're playing as Ellie, okay, 10 out of 10, you go around, the environmental cues, the dialogue, the animations, everything, it is a fucking masterpiece through and through, 10 out of 10, so have more of that. You can have more where Ethan's just looking around at a drawer, he just kind of opens it up, it's like, he just comments anything, you can have a million different things, you know. I wonder what they had in here. Just little tiny things, man. Little tiny things that makes the player feel connected and immersed in the world that they're in. Yeah, safe rooms. Oh god, I think I've already talked about it. I'll say it again. Why was there only one? Who thought that was a good idea? Who thought that was a good idea for only one safe room and only one safe room with music, actual music in there? Why? I just don't understand that logic. Someone has to explain that to me. My heart is broken in that way. And oh god, why Capcom? Tell me why. And let's see. And I'm not sure. The ending cutscene or the ending music, the last song in the game during the credits, if that's a Capcom original, holy shit, because it sounded like a produced song. I was kind of sad when I first heard it because I thought it was produced by another company, like a copyrighted song that they licensed, like a licensed song. I was like, man, come on, I hate when companies do that for any games. I hate that. Call of Duty always does it, where they just license songs, you know, Fortnite and Apex Legends. They don't come up with their own music because they're too lazy, so they just buy other people's music, they rent it from them, and put it in their game. I hate that. It's just these stupid like rap songs that exist and they put them with a Call of Duty game. Like, no, come up with your own original music that can entice the fans, that can draw them in, you know, that can make them feel a connection to your product. But no, 9 out of 10 companies don't do that. So it's like, I don't know, man. But I think Capcom did it here. I think this was all original music, which if so, hell to the fucking yes, because that last song seems like it's produced by a professional record label, you know? Like, oh my god, incredible. Okay, more breakable objects. There should have been more breakable objects, more interactable objects. Yeah, we talked about it, you know, just to make us feel immersed in the world. So many times I'd go up with my knife with something and it just wouldn't react at all. It should at least react, you know? Make different sounds and stuff. And over time I was thinking it could dull out the blade, and then Ethan could just, once again, when he's sitting there with the merchant and stuff, he could sharpen his knife, you know? It could just be a little thing that you do when you go back to the merchant, which you can also skip, but it's just something that the player would have to do. It would just be an extra little thing. Your knife gets dull, it doesn't break, but it gets dull, and then you go to the merchant while you're there eating with him, hanging out, and you can either watch him sharpen it for a few minutes, or you can just, you know, hit the button, skip it, right? Yeah. Okay. Better draw distance, less pop in, duh, obviously, like that just goes with every game, like come on. And that was a big cause of the last generation, we know this, so hopefully that'll be eradicated for Resident Evil 9, and hopefully some patches in Resident Evil 8, like maybe it'll get a PS5 next generation patch specifically for the game, that'd be fantastic. Yeah. I already talked about it, but I'll mention it again. More varied enemies, man. All the enemies were like bipedal. They were all with 2 feet, you know? They were very human-like in this game. Very human-like. Where were the slugs, spiders, snakes, toads? Imagine toads, frogs. Like, oh my god, big things. Like, it would be horrifying, man, to see. You know? So, not enough different types of creatures. Bats. Imagine fighting bats. I thought we'd definitely be fighting bats. I thought the vampires would turn into bats, and like I imagined them like hanging upside down on a branch of a tree, and we walk underneath them, and then they say something, and then we turn around and they transform. You know? No, we didn't get any of that. So yeah, I talked about the yellow tape. Don't want the yellow tape. I want the option to take it off. Any of that hint stuff, just get it out. Get it out. Get it out. I want to keep the footprints, yeah, in the snow. Obviously, you keep a persistent world, right? Kicking guys off the ledge. When you actually kick them, they should fall off the ledge, not just hit an invisible wall. Oh yes, and more subtle moments. So like, I don't know if I mentioned it, but I'll say it again if I hadn't. When you're just playing the game, there should be more subtle moments of fear. Like, pretend you're just walking around the castle and you walk into the main hall, and then Alcina Dimitrescu, or Dimitrescu, however you want to say it, right? She's sitting there by the fireplace having tea. Imagine her just sitting there. And she doesn't just get up and chase you right away. She's sitting there, she looks at you, she sips her tea, and then she's like, Ethan. She sets it down, then she slowly gets up and slowly starts to come after you. Things like that, man, could have been so well done. It could have been executed much better. And they even set it up, like that same room, you look over at the table by the staircase, there's tea right there. Like, you could tell that her and Heizenburg were having tea there because some of his things are there, or at least what looks to be his things. So you could tell that they were having tea at some point there, you know? It's like, oh man, the subtlety. They could have just walked in. We could have walked in on two of the sisters just getting dressed or like trying on clothes together, and then they just look over at us, you know, instead of chasing us right away, they like put the clothes back on the hanger and say, Ethan, yes, and then slowly start to come at us, you know, things like that. More subtle scares. Or we're just behind a fence at one point, like I forget where we were. I was behind this fence and I didn't want it, but it would have been terrifying if someone just casually walked behind me while I was exploring, didn't say a word, and just like walks behind me into the fence, opens the door and closes it behind them. And if you weren't looking or listening, like you would have to listen to hear the gate of the fence open. Subtle things like that, man, I think should have happened more often. Similar to the picture, I guess you could say here. It's not what I'm referring to, but imagine like that picture. You're walking by, and then you just hear the gate open behind you, and if you're not listening for that, well, someone is coming out of that gate and walking right towards you. Like, little subtle scares like that, I think, were not... They didn't use them at all, almost at all, but they should have. Where you see the opponent, and there's no music playing, it's just casual. They're not sprinting at you right away coming. It's just more of a drawn-out dread type feeling. Would have been amazing. You just walk in on Lady Dimitrescu putting her lipstick on, you know, in the mirror, and she sees you in the reflection of the mirror. Then she finishes putting her lipstick on before setting it down, turning around to come at you, you know, while saying something. It's like, oh my god. Yes, please. Things like that. Oh. Okay. Yeah, another like sitting down. I said you should also be able to like sit down, sit by a fire and rub your hands together, you know, for warmth, and like cusp them to your mouth and, you know, rub them and blow into your hands. Like, little subtle things like that, man. I promise you guys, like, these things seem like they're overboard, but they're not. Players would adore it. I know this because of my background and my affinity for human psychology. Like, these little attention to detail things players will go all in on. Like, I'm saying it right now, Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, man, they better let us make our own campfires and sit down at the campfires and relax. Like, just form a fire wherever we are and then sit down with it and relax. And just, like, be able to do different things, lay down, you know, have little animations that are not just combat related. It doesn't have to be combat all the time, you guys, in games. Have animations that the player can do that is not combat related. I know that seems weird, but trust me, it catches on, and it's enticing to humans. Just try it and see what happens. The rain and snow. This is one thing almost no games do. I want to say one of the Battlefields did it, maybe 3. I'm not sure, but almost no games do this. Like, when it rains and snows, the snow and rain should absolutely always be dripping on your gun, the player's gun, and on the face, like the camera. It doesn't have to obscure the entire camera and stay there forever, but it should absolutely have pitter-patter droplets that appear. I can't tell you how when it's raining in games and nothing's showing up on my character's gun or my arms or hands or on the screen, nothing showing up on the screen, like no raindrops, I'm like, I don't feel wet at all. I feel disconnected from the world that I'm in. So please, I implore more subtle details in that. Allow the rain and the snow to drip onto the character's arm, onto the jacket, onto the gun, and the camera itself, and drip down. And of course allow more blood and stuff to go on the character. That's another thing, like the character themselves. When you look down, you should add it in when you're, especially in horror games, like when you're looking down, you should be able to see your whole body, just like first person right now. Like, look down on your chest and your body, see your hands, your arms, your legs. You should be able to see all of it, just like as if you're standing there. And then as you get attacked, as you get injured, your clothes should start to rip and get bloodied, you know? And then throughout the game, you know, your clothes are just going to be shredded. And you might even have to change clothes. Like, that's how in depth I want to go, really, truly. And just having your body just ripped, and then when you pour the medicine on, you can see all the scars on where you were sliced, you know, throughout the game. Like, there's a game called Ill, I-L-L, look it up. It's a horror game that apparently, like, one guy is making, and it has the best, like, animations in blood that I've, like, ever seen in a video game. I promise you, go look it up, Ill, I-L-L. It's terrifying. And apparently it's made by a small team. So if they can do it, it's possible. Right? Blows my mind. So yeah, I want to be able, when I'm looking down at Ethan, I want to see his arms bleeding and everything. I want to see his missing fingers, see his blood dripping down onto his shoes. If my hand is bleeding, I want to see it drip to the floor. And then if the character turns to the right, the blood on the hand should then be dripping down onto his shoes, right? Because his hand came over to the right with his body turning. Like, the blood should drip wherever you turn. Like, the immersion has to be there, man. That's what it is for me. That's what it is. It's all about immersion. Especially with horror games. I want this with all games. Like, the goal of my life, and one of the goals in my life, especially for video games, is I want to either help build or encourage the building of a rated M horror Zelda game. And that's what I want. I want Link with the Master Sword, all, you know, dripping with blood and mature themes, really dark, but then also have it be the most beautiful light game that's ever been made at the same time. So, yeah, I love that contrast between the light and the darkness, and that's the only thing that, to me, makes me appreciate the light, is utter, severe, depressive darkness. It's the contrast of them. I need it. So, yeah. Have the rain come on this camera, more subtlety, looking down at your hands. I want to be able to look at your hands and feet and all that jazz, and more non-combat animations. And now I'm one thing I will say. Two things. Okay, so the water section in this game, when you're fighting Moreau, that could have been done so much better. Like RE4, where you're in the boat and, you know, you're fighting in the boat, that could have been great. They should have done something like that to lead up to the battle. The battle with him was great, and I loved it, except for the fact that he clips through the walls with his damn acid. Other than that, I love the battle. It's just, before that, it should have been a much creepier Jaws type of encounter with the boat, and it wasn't. That's a missed opportunity there that they could have paid homage to Resident Evil 4, and they could have done differently as well, you know? Could have been done in a number of ways, but they didn't do it, and it makes me sad. And I do have a fear, you guys, that this game is going to, or that the franchise is leaning back into, like, Resident Evil 6 territory. It's kind of like, you know, 4, 5, and 6 are very similar to 7, 8, and 9. I heard somebody mention that, and it makes perfect sense to me. Like, 4, 5, and 6 are getting more and more action-y as you go, action-oriented. And, like, that's how, like, 7 was, you know, horror, then 8 was more action, then 9 could be crazy action like 6. Capcom, please don't. You are on a good roll here, don't. I fear that Rose is just going to have all these powers and go crazy and, like, shoot mold out of her hands. Like, we don't need any of that crap. Maybe at the very end, for like a final boss battle or something, a mutation that only occurs once. But please keep the horror. Like, they leaned into the action more in this game in 8, and I get it, okay? I hope you got it out of your system. Now go back. Go back. I'm telling you to go back. You need to backpedal. Backpedal into the horror, into the low ammo, low enemy count zombies. Please, 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 for 9 and 10. I think with the side games and these multiplayer games, you want to go with more action-oriented, please do it, but for the love of God, keep Resident Evil horror-oriented, horror central. That's what I'm scared of. The point I'm trying to make here is I have fear because of RE6 ending, Chris saying someone needs to pay at the BSAA, they're going to BSAA headquarters. Like, this just sounds like an RE6 situation, and then Rose is there, she's a teenager, and you know she could do crazy things with powers, so I could see this being an RE6 2.0 real quick, and God, it's like they're at a crossroads right now. Capcom's at a crossroads. Do we go left and continue going horror-oriented, you know, the old school way, fixed camera angles, third person, first person, with the scares, or do we go right and turn right into RE5/RE6 lane and go crazy, China, things exploding, power-ups, superpowers, Jake Wesker, you know, teleporting around. Please no. For the love of God, please don't do it. Turn left, go back to the original, go lean more into the horror now. You got the action from 8, okay, great, now, and you got the multiplayer shit with 3 in this and in 8. So turn now. Turn left, RE9, turn hard left into the neighborhood, and have a nice, intimate, scary horror game with zombies again. Please, please, please. God, what do you guys think? What do you guys want in the next game? Please, let me know. Talk about it. Do you want fear? Do you want no fear? Do you want it to be happy? Do you want it to take place on in the clouds? What do you want for RE9? Okay. So, we are getting near the end here. Oh my goodness gracious. So with the combat, yeah, it is the lowest of them all. Combat's about a 7.5 for me. It's the lowest score of them all. So let's see if I have anything else. I just have a couple notes here. That's what I'm looking at. Yeah, I wish we could save the castle girls, man. I wish we could save everyone, like bring them back, somehow have the mold reanimate them, something, I hate that everyone we care about dies. I hate that. I wish we could bring back at least some of them. Save Alcina, Dimitrescu, and the girls. I wonder what they were like before. Give us DLC of all of the houses, please. 5 DLCs, including one for the village. Come on. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, where was Chris at the end? Where was Chris during our fight? He shoots Mother Miranda's like, get her, get the baby. We got the baby. Mother Miranda just takes the baby back, and Chris is just gone. Mia's gone. Chris's team is gone, nowhere to be found. We just fight Mother Miranda by ourselves. Where the hell was he? Yeah. And he easily could have carried Ethan. I think I mentioned that. Yep. Okay. So, yeah. I'm hungry, so I'm gonna eat something, and then I'll come back to finish the review. Alright. Okay. Alright, so it appears that this is getting very long, this this review and analysis, so I'm gonna try to wrap it up here. Let's put all these scores together and try to get a actual rating for the game. 1 to 10. Okay. So I've been thinking about it because I've been recording this video. This review has taken me days, you guys. It's taken me a long time, over a week to complete. I'm gathering the pictures, putting them together, trying to put them together. I'm trying to learn the software and everything, recording my audio, everything, along with my lion face here. So yeah. Okay, so when we have the story and acting, I would give the story a 7.5 and the acting a 9.5. You average them together, 8.5. So that's the number we're going to use. There's 4 numbers we're going to use, right? Then the graphics and location, I have a 9 for the graphics, exceptional. And locations, 10 out of 10. Like, truly, I adored all the locations in this game. They were masterclass. They were, like I said, a 10 out of 10. I wish they did more. I wish they did more with the locations that they had. And we've talked about that throughout the video, and I'll mention it again about the DLC. It's not over, Capcom. Like, you could still redeem yourselves with the story and everything. It's not over. You can push this further. You can go more in depth. It's possible. You could even bring this into RE9 as well. And 10. Just in the future of the franchise. So, yeah, you average them together, 9.5. Sound and music. The sound, one of the best audio soundscapes I've ever heard in a game. Like I said, up there with The Last of Us Part 2. This is a 9.5 sound. Very few gripes that I would have on the sound. Weapons needed to be more punchy. Some of the sound audio, mixing was off. Like, some sounds should have been louder, some sounds should have been quieter. Some of the directional audio was off. That's why it's not a perfect 10 out of 10. Because it's just them, it's brand new stuff, using the 3D audio. Of course, they're not going to master it right away. And what holds back most of this, like I've been saying, guys, is the damn cross-gen, the fact that this is cross-gen. So sound, and then the music 8. The music is just good, maybe even a 7.5. But what brings it up to an 8 for me personally is some of the standout tracks, like the opening title screen, the trailer music, the safe room music, Eradicating Evil, the final boss music, and the safe room part 2 music, A Moment of Respite 2, when you're with the Duke. And his Duke's theme is nice, but the Duke Emporium theme is also nice. So there is good. There's, close to 10 tracks that are good, but really only like 5 or less that I'm, in love with. So music 8. You put it all together, 8.5 with that. And then the gameplay is the weakest part of this game, man. Sadly, the weakest part for me is, it's a 7 out of 10. Like I've talked about, it's the animations, the reuse of animations, the reuse of sound, the lack of feedback on your bullets. Like, it's very inconsistent. Sometimes you'll shoot someone with a shotgun, they go flying, and it's really satisfying. Other times you shoot them point blank and nothing happens. So yeah, 7 out of 10 for me. I wish there was more of that combat stuff, make it more visceral. So when you average all this together, guys, the score of this game, Resident Evil 8 for me, Village, out of 10 comes out to an 8.375. Now, I'm obviously not going to keep that. Personally, I would have to round it up to an 8.5. This is an 8.5 out of 10. The package that we have is an 8.5 out of 10. And that is including, the mercenaries and the unlockables and everything that's there in the game right now. So this is an 8.5 out of 10. A fantastic game, an excellent game. And if you're not as hardcore as I am, this might even be a 9 out of 10 for you. This could even be a 10 out of 10 for you. But I don't see how, when you take all these things in together objectively, I don't see how you don't give this game at least an 8. This is an 8 out of 10 game. I would say, if we took everybody in the world's opinion, put it together, an 8 to a 9, somewhere in there, as it stands. So, okay, before I talk about some DLC that I would love, which I've already mentioned, but I'm going to mention it one more time to close out the video, I want to talk about just a few standout moments for me in the game. I love the beginning with Mia and Ethan, the whole little banter back and forth, like when Ethan tried to go out the front door and it was not opening, and Mia's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm just making sure it's locked." Like, I love Ethan and Mia, their back and forth conversation. Then the intro, man, as far as like the lichens, when you first get into the village, holy shit, the first enemy of the game took me like 20 minutes. I didn't even kill him. I figured out that you can grab the wrench and get past him and run past. Then it took me another like 30 minutes to actually kill probably that same lichen who came into the shed, That was an incredible moment where I was just surrounded. I thought I was done for. There's nothing I could do. I had like 20 bullets and there was like 5-7 guys around me. But thank God only one of them comes in, so you have to defeat that one. And then after that, man, it took me no less than 4, if not 5 hours on the Lichen Village part, where you were literally running around for a timer, like it's 5+ minutes it seemed, on Village of Shadows difficulty. You're just running around trying to survive. Like, it took me so long to figure it out, that you're trying to survive, and I didn't really even know because I didn't look this up. So I was trying to fight at first. I had 2 shotgun bullets. And I shot this guy twice in the head. He didn't die. He just got up, kept coming at me. So running around there trying to figure that shit out. Then the big guy showed up. Like, it was just it was a spiritual experience, man. It really was. Like, this whole game was a spiritual experience for me. That's why I'm not done with the rating. Even though the core of the game is like an 8.5, there's still a 10 in here, and I'm going to try to draw it out the best I can with some DLC ideas. But yeah, that intro part blew my mind, right? How the bell tolled, the church bell, and everybody ran away right as you were about to die. The Deus Ex Machina that finally showed up, which we desperately needed. I adored it, man. And then how you go to the village, you explore there for a while. I went to that church, tried to get in there, tried to activate a safe room music, nothing. Luis's house, that whole scene with them, with the prayer and the villagers, the only time you got to see the villagers. And I'm still holding out hope, man, that like Elena could be alive and her father. There's a whole plot thread there. There's a whole storyline there. There's a whole sub game there, that could show up. Because because, man, I love those characters, and I love the idea of somebody fighting against the virus. We've never seen that, like, actually happen and succeed. Brad was, like, the closest thing I could think in the Resident Evil history that, like, fought it for a little bit, for a second, and then he attacked Marvin right away. But this guy was fighting for, like, seconds on end, almost over a minute, you know, with Elena there. So it really was, there's a plot thread there, I think. Going into the castle, don't even get me started, man. Like, all the sisters, the daughters, and Alcina Dimitrescu, the environments in there, the sound of the marble floors when you walk, that weird scream that happens in the very beginning, and I don't know what happens after that. Like, there's that scream when you first enter, then you never hear anything about it again. Like, oh, there's so many plot threads that could have been expanded upon, man. Like, ghosts roaming the halls and stuff. You could have done things. You could have had Ethan fall asleep, you know, and have dreams. Man, they could have done a lot. But yeah, the castle is just marvelous. That chandelier room, you know, the main hall, whatever you want to call it. How it didn't have music, beyond me. Like, that's one of the biggest sins that they committed in this game, besides not having safe room music everywhere. How do you not have a main hall theme? That could have been, there's so much they could have done, man. It's just like, it makes me want to lower the game to an 8, because it's just like, how do these things go through development and nobody, like, raises their hand and says, you know, maybe we should put the castle near the end? Isn't the castle, like, does everybody agree? Like, look around the studio. Does everybody agree, like, the castle's the coolest part of this game, right? Like, should we leave it at the end, the climax? Yeah. Should we make Alcina Dimitrescu, like, she should be the villain. Like, she should have been the fucking villain of this game, you know? Or at least the top of the top, getting controlled by the top villain. Like, she should have been working side by side with, you know, Mother Miranda, and then we can kill Mother Miranda and free her, and free the daughters, and free Heizenburg, free Moreau. You know, free Donna. Like, we didn't get to learn anything about them. Ugh. Okay, sorry. We'll get to that in a second. Back to the things that really stood out that were awesome. The baby part, Donna's part, House of Beneviento, the whole thing, walking in the forest with the dolls hanging, everything. Like, having to put your picture in there, and that little puzzle with the doll of Mia. Oh my god, taking apart that doll. Like, I had no idea. You guys gotta understand, I didn't have the HUD on, so nothing was showing me or telling me what to do or helping me with that. It was just me figuring it out, and it was so much fun, man. So satisfying. Tracing Mia's arms, picking it up, sliding her hand down. There needed to be more rumble. Every part of that needed to have rumble, but it didn't. It broke the immersion. Like, I don't know why there wasn't rumble when you were fiddling with the doll and trying to figure out where to put the pieces of the puzzle. Still so spectacular, though. What a standout moment. And the baby part after, just, one of the most unsettling moments, scariest moments in Resident Evil history, and possibly in this game. Like, the scariest moment of this game was that whole sequence. I loved it. And how beautiful, by the way, the women were. Oh my god. Bella, Cassandra, and Daniela. Oh man. And of course, Alcina. Mother Miranda was cute in her own way as well. So was Elena. Beautiful women in this game. Beautiful. Heisenberg's performance, man. People, I loved him. Just the little scene. We only got like one scene with every bad guy, you know? We got Moreau talking with Ethan for one scene, like 1.5 scenes. Heisenberg for like 1.5 scenes. Even Alcina for like technically one scene when she ties us up, you know, with the daughters in the room. Like pins us up to the wall. Like, we barely got any time with these characters, and they were all so good. We didn't get anything with Donna. Like, what was it? Donna, what was the girl's name? Melina or Mara? What was the little doll's name? Donna was the girl, I believe, that was controlling the doll. And I don't know the doll's name. But we got nothing. We got not one scene talking with her. Nothing to learn about her. Like, apparently she was mentally ill, and then she had this doll as a kid that, like, kept her company and, like, kept her sane. We didn't learn any of it. We didn't get any time with them. Nothing. It's like, come on. Oh. Moreau's performance was fantastic as well. My favorite part of him was not only when Ethan talked to him and was taking the baby when he was by the TV, not that part, but when they were by the water and he was like getting infected, or I don't know, he was like transforming, whatever was happening. The way he was speaking, you guys, it was so passionate, and his acting was great. It was great. So just like, man, I loved it. Seeing the eyes, like those octopus eyes, as he's standing there, and Ethan's like kind of like shambled on the wood, floating on the water while the big fish is still swimming around, like, and you see the tentacles coming out. It was disgusting, but it was so awesome. It was so awesome, man. Oh, I loved it. Yeah, and House Beneviento, man, that whole boss fight, that was so cool with the dolls everywhere. Like, that was so badass and very unique. Very unique, man. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was happening. Look at my footage, like, I was panicking. I was like, fuck, what do I do? It was so unique, man, and out there, just out there. I loved it. I adored it. I wish you had a little more agency, like, maybe a little mini battle when you picked up the doll to stab her. Like, maybe she moved her head or something. You had to, like, you know, move and, like, rumble, and you felt some rumble in there. That could have been cooler, you know? But otherwise, I really love that, man. Ethan and Mia, oh my god, we got one scene with them again, like, once again, like, two. The intro and then the flashback scene, kind of, near the intro. It's like, Mia and Ethan, man, they are great husband and wife. Their banter, their energy, I adore it. I fucking adore it. And I hope they bring them back in RE9, man. Like, let them, or even in the DLCs as well, let them have more time on screen together. Let us fight with Mia. Let us play as Mia or Ethan or both. Either way, swap back and forth. Let us get the dynamic, the husband and wife dynamic. Like, relationships in Resident Evil, somebody said it, and I totally agree. There's, like, not many. They're always partners and stuff. They're always, like, they consider themselves partners, but where's the love? Where's the passion? Where's the true, you know, even lust? Like, where's the revelation, the feelings that we get between a loving family and boyfriend and girlfriend, jealousy? Where are these emotions? They are at the surface. They're right there in Resident Evil. We just need to bring them out, man. Really delve deep into them. Leon, Claire, Ada. Like, Ada and Leon are probably the most romantic of any of the characters in the series, and it's like this tiptoeing, tantalizing, you know, dip our toe in, our big toe, and then pull out, like, you know, dip the head in and pull out. It's like, come on, man, give us something with these relationships, these characters that we've loved for 20 plus years, some of us, you know. Oh, come on, Capcom, develop something with these characters. Like, even Ethan, the way he was holding his hand on Elena's shoulder, like, no, don't talk like that. We're gonna make it out of here, and, you know, everyone's gonna be okay. So good. Fantastic. It only lasted 5 seconds. Like, come on. Oh, 10 out of 10 performances, man. Really, truly. Yeah, Ethan and Mia loved it. Where they're in the bedroom, and Ethan's like, she's gonna be fine. I just know it. It's okay, Mia. And Mia's like, no, Ethan, you matter. Like, this matters. We matter. Like, oh my god, it's so good. And the way she storms out of the room and puts her hand on the wall, like, as she goes, and Ethan kind of leans towards, but he doesn't chase her. So realistic, man. So realistic. I don't know, people say, like, Resident Evil's all cheesy all the time and, like, B-movie stuff, and I understand, especially the old games, like, before they were remastered, like 1 in particular. Okay, I get it, but more and more as the series goes, man, like, I've always considered Resident Evil, I've been playing since 4. Yes, it has cheesy moments, it has one-liners and all that, yes. Overall, though, the plot threads, the tone, the atmosphere, the emotions, the delivery of most lines, I think it's very serious and very dark. I take it seriously. And that's how Resident Evil is for me. It's very haunting and realistic and grounded a lot of the time. Really grounded. Even though it's fantastical, you know, and magical and mythical and all these things, it still has a grounded reality to me. Like, and I love that. Like, Evil Within tripped me out a little too much, but it's good. Don't get me wrong. For what it is, I love it because it's very psychological. But some of the groundedness in Resident Evil I appreciate a lot. Evil Within 1 actually did it very well. Evil Within 2 just went off the walls, like, hard, real hard with the psychology. And I'm cool with it. Every now and then I'm totally cool with it. But I love the feeling of grounded horror that steps into that realm. Like, Ill. Like, go look up Ill, guys. I've been saying ILL. Oh my god. The gameplay. I looked at it again today. Oh, like, the guy walks into the room, picks up a shotgun with his right hand, and the player shoots his hand with a shotgun. His arm goes flying off, and the shotgun that he was trying to pick up smacks against the wall and falls to the ground. Like, that is the realism we need, man. And that's what's holding this back from being a 10 out of 10. It's like, we need that realism. Like, when an enemy's coming at me and I shoot them in the leg, like, they should be stumbling down, like, hard, not just a little bit. When I shoot them in the arm, they shouldn't just keep walking towards me and stumble towards me. No, they need to fall back in the direction that I hit them, you know, and all that jazz. You shoot their arm off, then they can't swing with that arm anymore, you know. And You take a shotgun to the head, I don't care what you are, like, unless you're a major boss, your head needs to get messed up. Even if the character still lives, that's okay if they still want to live and move around a little bit, but their head needs to get part of it blown off. It needs to be. Just the immersion, man. It's what you sign yourself up for when you make a horror game. It's part of the genre, is realism. You want the characters, the players, to feel like they are the character. You want the player to feel like they are in your world. You see what I'm saying? And realism and immersion is the only way to really do that, especially the immersion. You can go fantastical and mythical, but you need to keep the immersion there. And that's taking away glitches and bugs and bad animations and clipping. You gotta get rid of that shit. Otherwise the player gets thrown out of the experience and it's no good for anyone. So yeah, every decision you should make should matter, by the way, like, in the game. If you leave bodies somewhere, you pick up ammo somewhere, you should always be able to come back to that place and the ammo should still be there. If you drop a clip or if you drop an item somewhere on the ground, like, you should be able to drop things. If you drop it, and it should still stay there. Like, the enemies should be able to come, if they walk through that path where that item is, say you left an herb on the ground, they step on it, snow covers it, but it should obviously still be peeking up out of the ground near where you left it, so that when you come back you can find it. Little things like that would just totally immerse the player, man. If you left something on the ground, it's snowing, then it should continue to snow and fill up most of the item, and maybe have a little bit of it sticking up out of the ground, right? Because we don't want to ruin the player experience. We want to enhance it, but make it immersive. So all these things, every bullet when you shoot, man, and it hits the wall behind the enemy, like, that shit needs to stay. The whole game. You kill an enemy somewhere, their body needs to stay. You want to cut off their arm and their limbs after they're dead? Absolutely, let it happen. You want to kick that arm down the hallway and then leave it there? You should be able to. Everything, it needs to be a persistent world. I'm waiting for video games to do this, and I don't know if the PlayStation 5 is capable of things like this. I'd have to say no, unfortunately. However, I believe the PlayStation 6 and maybe even probably the 6 Pro, right? So that'll be like 2030, the next generation of consoles probably will then be able to render this shit. Of course you could do this probably at 720p or 30 frames. No, I would need 4K 60 minimum with my games, with my horror games, with my AAA franchises. From now on, I will accept nothing else, because I know the consoles can do it and I know the developers are capable of it, so I will not accept less. I will play less, of course, but I will always hold you accountable for your actions when you have the technology there readily available to you and you're just like, no, I won't use Unreal Engine 5 because I don't want to. No. This stuff is free and it's the best game engine in the world. Like, there is zero excuse for people not to be using Unreal Engine 5. And you mark my words, Starfield, Elder Scrolls 6, and Fallout. Bethesda is going to be screwed if they continue to use the creation engine with these games. They will be great games, I promise you, but they will not be successful because of the engines, the technology that is 25 years old, that has bugs out the kazoo. Everybody agrees. You go ask any respectable gamer, like, oh, what's the worst engine in the world, the worst engine on the planet? It's the creation engine that Bethesda uses. It's horrible. It's so janky, right? There's a million reasons why it's bad that I can't get into. I'm not technical enough to explain it to you. I just know because I played the games on the engine, and I know it's terrible. Elder Scrolls Online, so glitchy. Fallout, so glitchy and buggy. The physics, the interactions, the animations, horrible. It's all terrible. The engine needs to go. It's antiquated hardware, but Bethesda refuses to get rid of it. Hopefully Microsoft kicks them in the ass because they own them now. They literally own them. They bought them for like $7.8 billion, I believe. Hopefully Microsoft takes the reins and says, look, we're in control now and you are getting rid of that shit and we're going to use Unreal Engine 5 because that shit is ridiculous. That's what Hellblade is using. So Microsoft knows how good Unreal Engine is. Apparently the second Hellblade is going to be using Unreal Engine 5. So Microsoft knows how great it is. Get rid of Bethesda's bullshit creation. Literally destroy it into the dust. Like, get rid of it. Keep it on a hard drive somewhere. It's locked away. Or give it to the fans and let them up-res it and make adjustments. They could probably rework it, in a matter of a year or two. But either way, that engine needs to go. So engines are very important. The RE engine is a good one, but guys, go look at. Don't believe me. Don't believe a word I say. Go look up Unreal Engine 5 and see for yourself, man. There's no comparison. Like, this game, this engine is just the next generation. It is the next level. Okay, the last thing I wanted to really touch on was of the. Oh no, that's a lie. Moreau, I love the water section as well, where you're running across and he's chasing you. Like, that was great. I just wish there was more of a scare factor to it before that presence. Like, let his presence be known before that. You should be on the boat. Maybe your boat just gets hit real quick, you know, either it's like, what the fuck was that? You see a fin, but no, they just show like the whole fish right away. He jumps in front of you. Like, there's no scare to it. It's like they didn't want to scare the player almost. And that's another thing. Oh my God. I'm so glad I didn't end it. Yeah, that one article I need to touch on. Capcom, apparently they said Resident Evil 7 was too scary. Like, people said it was too scary, so we made 8 less scary, and we try to make games that are accessible to everyone, that anyone can play. No. The answer is no. First of all, yes. Everyone should be able to play accessibility-wise. Yes. If you have some kind of, issue, you gotta play with a keyboard, you can only play with a trackpad, you can only play with your feet, you can only play with your mouth, whatever. I understand people have that. Yes, of course everybody should be able to play. Absolutely, you gotta have accessibility. That's not what I'm getting on about here. That's not what my hot take is here. That's not what my passion and fury is about. No. It's the fact that you're saying RE7 was too scary. A horror game that we made was quote-unquote too scary according to a few people. So we're going to make the next horror game that is supposed to be scary less frightening. No. And you're not supposed to make a game that anybody can enjoy. Resident Evil is not for anybody. You understand? There are some people out there that are very squeamish, that can't handle blood. They get a paper cut and they're freaking out. Then you show them Resident Evil where heads are getting blown off and limbs flying around and blood pouring out. No. Resident Evil is not for everybody. You need to understand this, Capcom. Certain games are made for certain people, certain interests, right? Like, if you just love shooters, and you just want to go around shooting like Doom, and then I say, hey, let's go play, Sekiro, this ninja game, where you don't have a gun at all. You're just, you have a sword, a katana, one weapon the whole game. They're not going to like that game. Sekiro is not for everybody. Zelda is not for everybody. If you don't like the idea, I don't know who it wouldn't be for, but if you don't like the idea of saving a princess in a castle, well then Zelda's not for you, So don't ever think that like you need to make art that is for everybody. No, you want to make it for the people that love it the most. The horror fans. You understand? Those are the people you make the art for. So Resident Evil is a horror franchise. If you want to go actiony on some of the side games, I think the fans are okay with that. But the mainline games, the numbered games, you gotta stick to the horror, man. You gotta stick to the scares. You want to make it scarier than 7. You see where I'm getting at? Okay, and before we end, I just want to give Capcom and all developers, first of all, a round of applause. You guys are awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. Follow your passion, follow your heart, follow your artistic desire and creativity. And please try never to fall and succumb to greed. But I hope that everybody starts to use surveys more when it comes to fan feedback. As a player and as a fan of many franchises, I can never talk to or get my word back to the developers. The best we have is like, I try to tweet at them, or comment on an Instagram post. It's not good enough, you guys. We need more direct feedback for the games and specifically gameplay elements, right? And the best way to do that, in my opinion, would be to have surveys. You can have an open kind of like inbox for players just to submit feedback, any kind of feedback. Yeah, just ask players questions. They can be very simple questions. What do you guys want the game to be rated T? Would you prefer M? What kind of themes are you guys into? This is what we were thinking. It could be a conversation, the players tested. Yeah. You know, little betas and demos and things like that. Because the players love the games just as much as you do. Alright, that's it. Last thing we're going to talk about is Mother Miranda and that boss fight. Oh my god, that boss fight, you guys. The Mother... It is the best boss fight in Resident Evil history. That's the long and short of it. Bottom line. Oh yeah, by the way, fighting Moreau was really cool. I enjoyed that boss fight a lot, running away from him, hiding under from the rain, but he was clipping through the map a lot, and that I didn't like. His acid would clip through the map. Heizenburg's factory was pretty cool. I enjoyed it, and I look forward to going back there and actually really exploring and killing everybody, because I had to run away from most things in this game. Like, you have to run when you play on the Village of Shadows for new game for your first try. You need to run from most enemies. You do not have enough bullets, and that's how it is on most Resident Evil games on the hardest difficulty. If you're playing it in the beginning with the beginning items and weapons, there's no way you can kill everything. So you need to run. And God, what a feeling, man. So yeah, Heisenberg, his fight was cool too, you know? They were all really good fights. All the bosses in this game, you know what? All of them. Lady Demetrius, how'd I forget? Oh my god, fighting her on top of that castle. In the end, guys, if you look at my footage, I got a knife at the end. Like, I ran out of bullets, I ran out of everything. I was dying, I had no health. I pulled out my knife. It took me like hours to beat her, but when I finally got to the end, when I finally killed her, it was with a knife, with no health, nothing left, no bullets. I was just, man, it was awesome. Village of Shadows, baby. Yeah, what a great fight. She flies around, man. The scenery, the music, the bats or bugs that come flying at you. Yeah, all the boss fights in this game, man, were great. I gotta do a boss. One of my scores need to be a boss thing. See, I gotta review my review process, and I gotta put bosses in there because bosses, man, in this game are incredible. They're like 9 out of 10. And then there's the best one. Mother Miranda. My god, this fight, you guys. One of the best bosses I've ever fought ever. And the best boss in any Resident Evil game, and final boss for them, yeah. Queen of the Valkyries is my favorite. It's the best boss, like, I think ever of all time. From God of War 2018. But this is, oh man. Mother Miranda. Yep. Man, it's good to be alive. So yeah, the final boss fight. Oh my god, the music, her animations, the way she moves, it's just spectacular. If you have 3D audio on, the way she flies over your head, the whoosh sound, and you see the feathers falling down to the ground slowly. Oh my god, in the direct path that she just flew, you know? The different attacks that she has. I love the one where she goes in the middle of the map and she like calls upon, you know, all the darkness, and like this big orange ball appears. It's just like a boss, like a raid boss, man, you know, or like a Bloodborne Neo Sekiro boss. It's just so good. The different phases when she turns into the spider and crawls around. Oh, like the different timing of everything. I can't stress it enough, you guys. It is my favorite boss in Resident Evil history that I can think of. Please comment down below, comment your favorite bosses. Maybe you can remind me and convince me otherwise, but It is my favorite boss in Resident Evil. My favorite last boss, like final boss in Resident Evil. You know, at the end of the games, you have a final boss. I really did like Nemesis in 3, even though he kicked my ass a lot. I liked it. I like the rolling. Just all you really do is like roll and like shoot these orbs. But they're cool. It's fun. It's really fun. You have to time it well. So yeah, boss was just next level. The music, the environment when you're in the boss, you're like surrounded by the forest and trees. Like, it's literally like the story, the fairy tale come to life right in front of you with candles. Oh man, it's spectacular. And everything's kind of moving, like the forest is alive, you know, kind of like the Harry Potter tree, but like a whole forest of that. Man. Truly, it was spiritual. Yeah, so that boss fight is everything. A few more things before we end. The ink ribbons, like, there was no ink ribbons, so that breaks my heart. I think that on the hardest difficulty, you should have the option to put them in, and the easiest way you could have done it was, since the game was so much larger, you would just have to have more ink ribbons. So when you would stumble across some, instead of finding 3, you could find 6, you know? And that way the player could save more often. Oh, and one other thing, when enemies, like when they're chasing you, we need to figure out something different, because right now the enemies just disappear. Like, if you run away too far, the enemies will just disappear and you know, teleport away when you cross a certain threshold. We need to figure something out with that, because I don't like that. I kind of want them to like keep following you, so like no matter what, they will continue following you, unless they like break line of sight for a long time. Then they'll like look for you a little bit, like in a room, and you can hide, and then they can start walking back to wherever they were, and you can attack them from behind, you know, when they're walking back. I don't like it that enemies disappear. You know, when you cross a certain threshold, you walk into this building and they disappear. I don't like that, you know. It's immersion breaking. And one other piece of feedback for the people who play with the HUD off, like me, nothing on the screen. I noticed, I've seen some people play the game with the HUD on, and it's like, it's beautiful. When they walk in a new area, this little icon comes on the screen on the bottom right, a title, and says, like, you know, the altar. And it just shows up in this beautiful font, and then it disappears off the screen. And I'm like, oh man, I wish they would play that for me. You know, even though I have the HUD off, you should at least have the option where the player can have little title cards that are supposed to come on the screen. Let them come on the screen, because it's only for a few seconds, right? Because when people turn the HUD off, we do it because we want to immerse ourselves in the world moment to moment with the gameplay. But if a little tiny title comes on, it says, like, you know, the altar on the screen, and then disappears, or, you know, the castle. Oh, it was beautiful the way it shows up. I love that, and I wish I got to experience it, but it was something that I couldn't control because the HUD was off, and that turned everything off. But like I said, I just wish that title text of locations could stay on. Okay, and then the last thing was just like a few little tips and tricks for people who ever want to play on hard difficulties, in particular in Resident Evil. In Resident Evil games, you want to use your saves very wisely, like your ink ribbons. Ink ribbons, normally they're things that allow you to save, so if you find 3, that means you literally have 3 saves. So what you want to do is play as much as you can and get as far as you can while only using one of the ink ribbons at a time, and then once you get, you know, hours down the road, then use the next ink ribbon after you're very familiar with everything. Because what you don't want to do is just use them real quick, because if you do that, like boom, 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 you're in big trouble, man, because let me tell you, you're going to run out of saves, and then you're going to have to do hours worth of work before you find more ink ribbons to help you save. But in this game in particular, there are no ink ribbons, so you can save as much as you want. But one thing you do need to do is be cognizant of your saves. Be aware of your saves and where you place them, because I think there's only a limited number, like 20 or something, but That's a lot. I only use one personally because when I make a decision, I use one, maybe two saves. You can see through my playthrough. When I make a decision, I try to stick to it, and I just save over. I override it because then it's gone. Then I don't have a chance to go back to any state in the game. I have to stick with the decision I just made, right? I try to stay up to date with my saves. So, yeah, you can do that, but if you want to take it easier on yourself, just have multiple save files. That way you can go back to certain areas if you want. Right, so that's one tip. And explore everything. Like, go back to different areas. If you were running away from enemies, like and right here behind me down this path and to House Benny Viento, I was here the first time. I had to run because the enemies were owning me. They were destroying me, and I came back later in the game to do more exploration because I knew that I'd be stronger later and I'd come back here. Hopefully, I hoped I would, and turns out I did. And I knew I'd be stronger, and then it worked out well because there weren't any enemies. Like, they despawned, they were gone, and it was just a goat at that point. So I really got to explore them. So I would always recommend going back and forth to areas, backtrack to areas that you've been, and look for other treasure, upgrades, ammo, stuff like that. It'll really help you along. And it'll give you more time in the world, and you find more secrets and stuff like that too. I love it because you stumble across more gems, more treasure, and more game experiences that the developers wanted. So yeah, and the game, it's coded and it's paced so well, you guys, you have no idea. Like, the way I had to play this game, I had to run past as many enemies as possible because you don't have enough ammo on the harder difficulties. That's another thing. Run past enemies because you don't have enough ammo to kill all the enemies. You gotta be very, very aware of that. But it's amazing because even with all of that, and me fighting to the best of my abilities, at the very end of the game, and conserving as much ammo, as much health, conserving as much money as I could, at the very end of the game, it literally came down to me selling everything that I owned, even my pistol. I had to sell the pistol that I had upgraded, the Lemmy that I've upgraded with the little Mr. Everywhere bobblehead dangling from him. Like, the whole game, you can look at my playthrough. It was coded so well that if you wanted to play Village of Shadows on your first playthrough without looking anything up, as I did, and No Hud, at least for me, I had to sell my pistol in order to have enough money to upgrade my sniper one last time to get that extra damage needed, which then helped me beat the boss. The pacing and the resource scarcity was like flawless. It was just so well done. So well done. Going from area to area, getting out, escaping with your life was just incredibly satisfying, and you felt that in Village of Shadows. That's what I felt, and I feel so bad for the people that played on normal and looked things up their first try because they've ruined the experience for themselves. It sucks. So yeah, I knew, like, if I got to a place, I told myself, wait, I'm gonna go back and explore in other areas because I don't know if I'll be able to come back here, and I don't feel strong enough. And people say the game is like too linear, and in some ways it is linear, of course, but all Resident Evils are. But there was a point where I had 4, if not 5, different places I could go. I literally had like 4 areas I could go explore. I had the main path, and then 3 other areas that I could go and figure stuff out in. And one of those areas at least had like 2 different paths in it, So people say it's too linear, like, you just don't play on hard enough difficulties, because if you did, like I said, you would have to explore all those extra areas and figure all that shit out. I loved it. I was like, okay, I can't progress the main story. Out of the 4 areas, I did all 3 of the other ones, because what I thought was the main story I didn't want to do until I had got all the ammo, got all the items, got everything else from the other areas, because I knew that I was going to need it along the main story, which I did. You don't understand how close I came to not beating this game at all, you guys. I got to the final boss after all this, and then I almost didn't have enough ammo, I didn't have enough guns, I didn't have enough powerful enough stuff. It was that close, man. It was that close. Wow. Wow. Yeah, what a spiritual experience, man. Oh yes, so before we end, DLC. I gotta talk about it. As I said, this is an 8.5 for me, personally, but Capcom, it doesn't need to remain that way. You can give us DLC for this game. It deserves it. Multiple story DLCs. You can do Villager DLC. And all 4 of the houses. Lady Dimitrescu, House Beneviento, the Lake Monster, Moreau, and Heizenburg. You can do DLCs before and after. I don't care. Pick both of them, one of them, before, after. I don't care. Let's do it. Let us learn about them. Same with the villagers, before and after. Hopefully Elena lives with her father. There's a storyline there. There's like a whole game, a side story game there that you could have. You could take this game from an 8.5 up to a 9.5. At least a 9. Because I'm thinking about Resident Evil 7, you guys. If you play, you have to play Resident Evil 7. Please play that game. It's so good. It's so good. The DLC in that game, possibly the greatest DLC I've ever played in my life. It's up there with BioShock Infinite's Burial at Sea and Left Behind from Last of Us, and Bloodborne, The Old Hunters. I'm trying to think of other DLCs that blew my mind like that. That's all I can think of that come to mind. Like, exceptional DLC in Resident Evil 7. Top 2. It's either that or BioShock Infinite are the top 2 for me. I don't know which one. Story-wise, it'd be BioShock Infinite, but content-wise, it'd be Resident Evil 7, because Resident Evil 7's DLC, you guys, has so much content, and it's all varied. Like, it has story content, side games, mini-games, horror games, horde mode type games, a card game is in there. It is ridiculous. Puzzle games. Resident Evil 7 DLC is, like, flawless, truly. So hopefully 8, if 8 even comes close to having that DLC, it's going to be a 9, if not a 9.5. It already is my game of the year personally, but like I said, Far Cry 6 might be up there, Ratchet & Clank might be up there. Returnal might be up there too, if I ever get a chance to play that. I heard it's really good. Yeah, but as of right now, Resident Evil is the only one that really drew me in. And I love it. So yeah, the DLC, there's a lot of chance that, you know, they can do more stuff. They can set it up for 9. Ethan and Mia working together, like, I hope Ethan's not dead, man. I hope they show he's not dead. Like, sad, so sad. Is Rose, like, speeding up her recovery or her growing up? Like, how far after is that last cutscene in RE8 at the very end, you know? Rose seems like a teenager, like 16, 17, 18 years old. Is that 18 years later, or is she growing really fast because of the mutamycete or whatever? I don't know. But what I do know is, guys, my computer keeps going black. The screen keeps going black, like, every 5 seconds right now. And it's been going black ever since I got this computer. It's brand new. It makes me so sad. I switched the HDMI cables, but it doesn't work. It doesn't fucking work. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I heard something's wrong with the actual computer. I don't know. God dang it. Alright, guys, well, hopefully it holds so I can edit this video, edit this review, and get this out to everybody. I'm trying to get this out by July 4th. Hopefully I do. It's currently midway through June. We're having E3 this week, so a lot of stuff going on. But, yeah. Love this game. It's an 8.5, and if Capcom, you do it DLC, you can get it up to a 9, 9.5. Near absolute 10 out of 10 masterclass. I mean, you could bring it to a 10 somehow, but that would require, in my opinion, like, reworking some of the combat systems and animations and stuff, and most games never do that. Could happen though. So that's it, guys, but it's still, at this point, my game of the year 2021. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, I love you. You are awesome. I don't believe that you made it this far. You probably just scrolled here and figured out, you know, came to the very end. No way did anybody sit here and watch. How long was this game video? I don't know. Probably close to 2.5 hours, 3 hours. Who knows how long this was. Alright, that's it. I'm done. Take care, guys. Yeah. And remember, no one sees what you see, even if they see it too.